circle from all that's stressed. We trust the guardians, trust the guides, trust the open and what's inside. When the moon is high, it's time to fly. Open your mind, let it all unwind. Let's get disenraged, time to engage. Turn another page, free from your cage. Get disenraged. When you feel like you've had enough and the week was busy and tough, you need a break, you need some fun, you need to take time from the run. We'll blow your mind, we're just in time. Seek and ye shall find. Time to unwind, let's get disenraged. Time to engage. Turn another page, free from your cage. Get disenraged. Aliens, ghosts, spirits and shadows, spirituality, ultra reality, the Bible, the pagans, all the conspiracies, tarot, astrology, and alternate history. Open your heart to other possibilities and get disenraged. Time to engage. Turn another page, free from your cage. Get disenraged, 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 disenraged.
Jennifer, I can really hear your air conditioning. Oh, wait. The more I talk, the less air conditioning I hear. How about that?
Oh, good, because I am not turning it down. I'm dying.
Too hot for that sort of thing.
Oh,
Hey,
God.
happy Tuesday. How are you?
I'm good. We met with a realtor this morning, and they're
Oh, that's
coming,
fun.
over at my folks' house, and then they're going to come over here on Friday. So now I have to go do weeding and all kinds of cleaning and things, just so that they're like, "Oh, don't worry about cleaning. We're just going to assess." I'm like, there's a bomb in my house, and it went off, and so I need to do something.
There's a perpetual bomb in my house that is going off at all times. And I'm, I have embraced that I am not a neat freak. You know what? This is my mother's fault, Jennifer. It's my mother's fault because my mother was a clean freak growing up, and she tried to make me a clean freak, but I rebelled and I refused. And then my mother said, when you own your own house, you can keep it however you want. And then lo and behold, as soon as I buy my own house and my mother comes over, all of a sudden the cleaning is coming out again. And then all of a sudden things get broken, things go missing. Like, I know where everything is. I'm like, my house might be a mess, but I know where everything is. All right. The minute it gets cleaned, it's like everything goes away.
Yeah, I can't find it. No, I keep things pretty tidy. I can't help it. I'm a Capricorn. That's what I do. But just like because there's so much to do right now, certain things are going to slide. So the dust bunnies, are piling up. They're building monuments in my honor, things like that. I just want to take care because I don't want someone looking at my house and seeing dust bunnies. And
they're judging you.
Things.
They're judging.
They totally are. I know it. I know they are.
That's why we don't have people over. I'm like, I just don't want to be judged. This is my house. I'm gonna keep it. And my husband doesn't care, and he's like, he just goes along with it, and he has his own sensibilities. And I'm just like, you know what? We have a system here, and it works for us. Happy wife, happy life, and all that stuff. And so, yeah, whatever. Other people can have their judgments, but that's exciting. You're moving out of Colorado.
We're getting there. Yeah, we might even have a goal of when to put the house. We've always had a goal, but I think we actually have a real goal that we all need to work towards, and I don't think any of us are quite prepared for it. So,
yep. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. Man, that one got me
yeah.
right in the feels, Jennifer. I loved wrestling growing up, and like, there's just no one. I get like when the Undertaker dies, you like, man, don't even contact me for like a week when the Undertaker dies, because like the Undertaker was my guy in wrestling, and I know many people feel the same way. Like when he retired, it was like this whole big deal. And Hulk Hogan though is just like an icon, man. Like you
I
can't
didn't love
get rid of
Hulk
that guy.
Hogan. Yeah,
As
I
a-
was like Sting. He was one of my favorites.
Sting was pretty great. Yeah, he was in the WCW, so that was the other wrestling
the
one.
other
So
one,
I didn't like that one as much. But like Hulk Hogan, just like there's this one video of Hulk Hogan where he's like signing autographs in like a store or something, and this little 6-year-old kid comes in dressed as him, and he starts doing his Hulk impression to him, and the Hulk just like he goes along with it, and he plays with the kid, and it's like the kid ripped off his shirt, and I was like, this is like the best thing ever.
Oh my gosh, how adorable!
How can you not love wrestling? Like wrestling, I don't understand people who are like wrestling is stupid and it's fake, and it's like so what? So what?
No, it's not fully. It's not totally fake. It's a little scripted. They give guidance. Sometimes they'll pick winners, but the one thing I really respect is the athleticism.
Oh yeah.
Is phenomenal what these people do with their bodies, and not only that, but how they do it to each other, knowing how not to hurt each other. And if they do, it's usually like a total accident. And then also, what was the other thing? I had another thing. I've been doing this all day where I'm like on a roll, and all of a sudden I just go, my brain just completely disintegrates. But but I love all that. The artistry is fun. Oh, that's what it was. When they're fighting, they cue each other what the moves are going to do. So I mean, it's not totally scripted, but they
like
help
ballet.
Each other.
It's a dance, and they have to work together.
Yeah. I dig it. I think it's great. I don't, my husband watches it all the time. I'm not huge into it. I pay very little attention to it, but it's on all the time. So I can't help myself. I'm always paying attention, but I have something else to show you.
Oh, you do? Oh. Hang on. Mankind versus the Undertaker. Yeah. Crazy. I remember that when it happened. Yeah. I was, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, this.
Look at that.
Look at that empty bookshelf.
Wow.
And all those boxes.
All your stuff is getting boxed up.
It's happening. Empty shelves.
Wow.
It's happening. Yep.
That's crazy.
And I got all these boxes. I don't know if you can see behind. I don't think I'm doing this camera very well, but it's behind me is a bunch of more boxes I have to pack. So yeah, it's happening.
That's crazy. The moving is real. I want to say one more thing about wrestling. So you remember Mankind versus Undertaker. So do you know, Jennifer, that when I was 17, I went to WrestleMania, like the actual WrestleMania, and I had the best seats, and it was the year that Stone Cold Steve Austin won the title at WrestleMania. And my seats, so there's the ringside seats are obviously the best at like any wrestling event, but the seats I had were kind of like 15 rows back from ringside, and they were elevated because it starts to come up on a slant. I was literally sitting right across the camera on WrestleMania. So actually there was a poster that came out that I can actually point to the poster and say, this is me and my mother at WrestleMania.
Oh, how fun.
I was like, that's actually really cool. That was a
really
great
cool
experience too. That was awesome.
Right on.
Anyway, so we're going to be talking about things like giant stone structures, like giant ancient stone structures. So one of the things that I did is I went back because one of the videos you sent me is about Machu Picchu.
Oh yeah, but before we do that, can I get the update on big tech?
Oh, okay. Okay, we got to do a big tech update.
I do. I want it now. Give me my update. Yes.
Okay. I'll give you a big tech update. Okay. So okay, there's good news and there's bad news to this whole thing. So last week you predicted something to the effect of that he and I were going to be fighting for a while, and then some sort of thing was going to bring us together against a common enemy, right?
Right. Yeah.
So actually, I'm kind of ready to say that I hope you're wrong on that.
That's fine. That's
maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
need
yet.
to be right. I just saw what I saw.
I don't know. It could be like we'll see. Maybe we'll do another intuitive reading, because after the show last week, I was on a Twitter space. Yearly community gate would get. Yeah, we're definitely doing that. Jennifer's getting a compound, and we're going to do a retreat at her house, and she doesn't have any choice about it. So. You're keeping your giant speakers.
I just picked them up today. They're in the back of my car. I have them. Yep.
I'm not offering Jennifer's future property. She's already offered it and said I'm hosting a retreat. I was like, okay, fine, whatever.
As long as we get enough property, it depends on what we get. But anyway, continue.
It'll be fine. So after last week's show, there was a Twitter space that I was in which Big Tech was also in it. And actually one of Big Tech's friends, whose name is HT, tried to he deliberately called me up on stage to talk about whether or not Big Tech and I were going to just make up. And he was trying to like create drama and all that. But I do have a clip of what happened in that Twitter space if you want to see it.
I do.
Okay, I've got a clip of it. So let me pull it up.
You said I made it on his YouTube channel too.
Yes, well, on his Kick channel, he doesn't have a YouTube, but I'll show you what happened. I'll talk about it. We don't want you to watch the whole like hours long reaction he did, but like I'll give you a basic mise-en scène of what happened. But you have to have this clip to understand like okay, this is the part where I was like, maybe everything's going to be okay and there's going to be no more fighting.
Okay. So Big Tech and Karlyn, you're gonna make up, guys, or what?
Well, we had a little war, and I just won real fast. That's about it.
Well, he's claiming that he won, but he did not win, and it's just like it's going to continue. And I know he wants to fight me because all you ever want to do is fight with me.
Wait, is she still there? Karlyn, you still there?
I'm here.
You're happy now, right?
Well, I guess we'll see. I don't know. You've been silent for 2 days, so I'm happy that there's no additional nonsense and that my spell obviously worked.
But you're happy. Everything I did was delightful to you. You were smiling, laughing so hard that you could barely contain it.
I don't know.
You loved it.
I didn't watch the entire 9-hour stream.
But everything you saw just made you feel good, and now you're happy.
It's been entertaining, yeah.
So I won.
Okay, fine. You win. Fine, you win. Fine. Does that make you happy?
See? Yeah, winning does feel good.
Okay, you won. I lost. You won. Congratulations.
Based. Yeah, see? Don't fuck with me.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm leaving the spell on you, though, just in case.
I already broke the spell.
Yeah, okay.
That's right. Get back to the kitchen.
And see, just like that. It's all good.
You didn't have to block me. It didn't have to be this difficult.
Yeah, well, I won and you lost, so maybe you don't tell me how I had to go.
Okay, touche, good sir.
All right, what's next?
Yeah, I was gonna say this sounds like something we shouldn't even be hearing. Like these guys should be like, left alone somewhere. If you know what I mean.
No, that would mean that she won.
Oh.
You guys should have seen how far Jennifer's eyes rolled back in her head as soon as Big Tech declared that he won. Like, because I could see Jennifer while we're watching that clip. It was like it was like a full-on fucking eyes to the back of the head.
Whatever.
Yeah,
but you feel better.
but you know what? I actually thought that was a really nice moment. I was like, this is basically probably about as good as it's gonna get. Like, everyone's smiling, everyone's happy. Like, there's been. He can declare that he wins all he wants, but the fact of the matter is that I also got what I wanted, which is he unblocked me, and I felt like the energy kind of just leveled out. Like, it was lighter, it was nice. Like, I was like, okay, this is fine. And then so I pulled up. I'm just gonna give you a screen grab from his show. So this is so first of all, he does not like your intro song to the show. He writes a lot of AI songs, and he has very high standards for himself, and he said that we need to leave the songwriting to him. He does not like your song. And so
has he ever made money playing a professional stage show? I'd like to see that.
I don't know the answer to that. I feel like I knew that he was a musician at some point, but I don't know if he's actually made money doing it. But maybe I'm just making that up too. I could be wrong about that. But so
If he doesn't have none, it's not for everybody. Not everybody has to like every single song out there, but he can go fuck himself.
That's kind of like what I thought. I was like, it's a fun song. It gets stuck in your head, like whatever, bro. Like relax. But like, but so this is the section of the video where he is he is inspecting your nose to try to figure out if you're Jewish.
Is that real?
Yes, he was really inspecting your nose.
Oh,
do you want to see? Do you want to? I'll show it to you. I don't care.
I'm Italian, but thanks for playing, Holmes.
Do you want? Okay, so let me go back a little bit because he's definitely I don't know exactly where it starts, but
okay.
I know. But you know what? Listen, he got his final show in, and that
I knew this was gonna be.
Oh my god, the timing of that is tripping me.
Oh, we're talking about Ozzy.
Yeah,
Guys, are we getting a physiognomy check? Is anybody signaling?
That's my gap. My
that was what he wanted. He was
nervous.
ready. Yeah,
I think he was
inspect
actually literally saying goodbye, and I think when
It's Fat Lav. Thank you, offense.
That's kind of a nice.
Sorry, no offense. She's. I mean, you know, what are you gonna do?
You're a mature lady.
She's a mature.
and he
You were just compared to an
when he's saying
OnlyFans
Mama, I'm
porn
coming
star,
home, I
just
don't
so
know
you
if
know that's what they're
anybody
talking
has the
about.
scene.
Is that a
You're much
compliment?
you're much
So
better
good.
than the porn star.
Okay.
Oh, you almost had it right there.
See, they're trying to figure out if you're Jewish. They're trying to find your nose.
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
Italian,
Yeah. Not Jewish.
One more.
not Jewish. No,
Not
we're Roman
Jewish.
Catholics.
Profile.
Well, my family is Roman Catholic.
Oh, that's another part of the story. I almost forgot about that. So I'll tell you about the. Oh,
Why don't you give us a profile?
this is
Wow,
really
this
nice.
is a little
Yeah.
creepy.
It is creepy, isn't it?
Oh my god.
Like, bro, you literally could have just asked. Like, honestly, like, wouldn't that?
Yeah.
Be...
All right, she's about to turn the head.
He's trying to see if you have.
Oh,
a nose.
oh, oh, oh.
Sorry, honey. That's a Roman nose.
What do you guys think? It's not much to go off of.
At least they're not insulting me in any way, as far as I can tell.
Can't tell yet.
Oh, that is.
Like, you might,
hilarious.
that was a
Cool
perfect
next.
freeze frame
Oh
of
my
me,
God,
honestly.
I-
He watched a bit of it, and actually he watched a bunch of Bashar actually, and so he says that he didn't even know who Bashar was, which I kind of find hard to believe if I'm being honest about it.
little
But
sketch, but okay.
it's because he absolutely sounded like Bashar, and like we've watched a fair bit of Bashar. We watched more than he has, so like whatever. Or at least more than he watched on this. So he likes that Bashar is bald because he is also bald, but he thinks that Bashar is a snake oil salesman who's just making all this stuff up. And I'm
Wait a
like,
minute,
okay.
I'm sorry, pot meat kettle. Excuse me. I summoned
Yeah.
a demon to tell Karlyn that she's feeding me. Okay,
Yeah.
PT. That's adorable.
Exactly. But you know what? It was okay. And like, he
That's
didn't
good.
act anything extremely offensive. And so I was like, okay, we're in the clear. We're not fighting anymore. Allegedly. Jennifer, I had 2 days. I had 2 days of peace.
Two blissful days.
I had 2 blissful days of peace. and then there was and it wasn't actually that big of a deal. He wasn't trying to make a big thing out of it. This happened to be something that he posted on Twitter that someone else then sent me, which is how this whole, like, the fucking men on the right are a worse gossip mill than women. I swear to God. It's like the minute anyone says anything, there's this whole sort of DM email chain that goes on where it's like, I will inevitably be informed anytime he says anything about me on the internet. It will probably be within like minutes of him saying it. That's how it's like they start because they want to create drama for content on the internet, right? And so 2 days went by, and then he declared that I am what did he say on his stream? That he really doesn't like me and he doesn't want to be around me, and because I'm in these anti-Abrahamic Twitter spaces, he is now becoming a Christian again because I'm listening in on Twitter spaces that he used to be. I guess he's still involved with them. He was on them the other night, but like I guess like he's now declaring that he's going to be a Christian again because he really doesn't like me and I'm a horrible, awful, ugly, fat person and blah 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 blah, and he's having a whole history. And he got into a whole argument with Adam Green last night on his show because they're now disagreeing about something. And I only saw a bit of it. Like Amalek and I were talking about it. But I was just like, really, bro? We had a nice moment. We had a nice moment where everyone was smiling. Everyone was happy. And
you
now
were really nice in that Twitter space, too. You like
I was
actually
very nice.
Controlled yourself. You're like, you know what? this is fine. I don't need this one. I just enjoy my space here, and you go do you, and that's fine. And it's like you were so mature and so well behaved.
I was so unexpectedly mature and well behaved, and he never appreciated when I did that for him. Never appreciated it. I was nice. I went along with it. I let him win, Jennifer. I'm a fucking Aries. I don't let anyone
that's why
win.
I didn't say anything because I was like, wow, okay. Sounds like you made a priority, though. Your priority was not him, but to be in the Twitter space. And he is still trying to make himself a priority for you. Now he's saying he's going to be a Christian. I don't believe that, by the way.
No, I don't believe that either.
No,
in any way, shape, or form.
He's just saying stuff. He's just being a drama queen because it's fun and it's making him money. And he's getting people to show up and rag on the two of us. And that's fine. You know, whatever they need to do.
I was an angel. I was perfectly behaved. I was submissive, which is he once asked me to be submissive to him. And I was like, I even gave you the submissive woman, and you still, I swear to God, it's like I'm doing everything I can to create a peaceful situation in which we can coexist and be in the same Twitter space at the same time.
I heard this is what I was thinking, and I almost said it, but I realized I was muted, so it wouldn't have done any good while we were watching that clip. I was like, he wants to dominate you. That's exactly what I was getting. He'll never
so many ways.
Yep.
So many ways. But so that is the current state of affairs. And so he hates me and doesn't want to be around me and thinks I'm horrible and all this stuff. And he's gonna become a Christian just so we don't have to be in the same Twitter space. And I'm just like, I'm like so over it. I'm like, okay, fine. Like what? Fine. Like I don't even care anymore. So what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'll stand by my previous reading for now until I tune real hardcore back in. But I mean, for now, he's just playing the game. He's just being a drama mama himself. But the funny thing is I don't feel any real animosity. I feel like he's having fun. He's playing a game.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it at your expense. And you know, and I knew I was going to end up in there, and that's fine. I mean, we didn't say anything bad about him. I don't know him. I can't judge his character because I've never met the guy, but I mean, he definitely sounds like one of those people that just needs to make fun of someone or rag on them for the sake of it.
Yes, that is very much what him and his buddies on the internet do for fun.
Oh well, isn't that fun?
Yeah, I just don't know how people do this all the time. Like, I guess, like, you know, you can always make fun. I mean, obviously, we make fun of each other. I'll make fun of you for like saying time isn't real over and over and over and over and over again, and you'll make fun of me for saying that and all this stuff. So it's like, you know, a gentle ribbing is fine, but like when you do this just like all day every day, I don't understand it. Maybe it's a boy thing.
I just think what is his show typically about?
Typically his show is him running around the internet doing whatever he wants to do and then talking to people on his show. It's not really a show where it's like, it's not like my show where I'm like, okay guys, we're going to learn about socialism now. It's let's run around the internet and watch a bunch of videos on the internet and all this stuff. I don't know.
This is his jam. This is what he does. So, okay. Yeah. I get it. All right. Well, at least he called me mature and not OLD.
He was being very nice about that. Actually, he was being very nice, and so for relative for, I'm grading on a scale.
That. I always appreciate kindness, and that always comes back to you too. So like anytime that you hold back from being insulting when you don't need to be insulting, and you're being mean, and you hold back, and you're actually kind to someone, that comes back to you. So good for him. He did something nice.
Here's hoping I get payback for being on my best behavior in that Twitter space, and then being told I'm an awful person.
He's a Pisces. He's never going to give you credit.
No, he's never going to give me fucking credit.
Pisces don't give credit, and they never admit when they're wrong either.
Yeah, he's never. Yeah, and so whatever. I'm still going to go to the Twitter spaces. If he wants to be a Christian, he can. So that is the big tech update for the day. Let's do actually the show now, though, because I'm really excited, Jennifer, because you sent in a bunch of videos.
I sent like 5 videos to you.
And I think we're only going to watch
one that's like 15 minutes, one that's like 10 minutes. Like, they're not all really long. And the Graham Hancock one, if you want to do that one, you can stop it at 27 minutes. So, like, they're not too long.
So I think
this one is.
The Graham this is the first one, right? The Sasuke, I don't know how to say this.
Sacsayhuaman.
So yeah, so this is
Sacsayhuaman. There, I said
so-
it wrong. Sacsayhuaman. Yeah.
so we're watching videos about giant stone formations.
Ooh,
and so
show us your Machu Picchu's.
so this is the one you wanted to watch first, but then the one that Jennifer sent me second is actually the one I was excited about. I was like, oh, we're gonna watch Machu Picchu. And so I went back and I found all of my pictures, at least the ones I posted on Facebook at the time, from when I went to Peru, because we did go to Machu Picchu, but there's other stuff in here too. And I thought we could just I could show you guys my photos from Peru. I've never actually shown these publicly before.
Cool.
This was back in 2016, and you know what was funny about this is, so this picture here is taken on a train that we were taking through the Amazon to actually get to Machu Picchu, because we were about an hour. So what this was I went on an ayahuasca and plant medicine retreat to Peru, and how I got involved with this is I basically met a shaman randomly when I was in Los Angeles one time at like this coaching conference, and it was so funny because we were just like, everyone was like standing out in the hall, and we were waiting for them to open the room so we could go into the conference. And I happened to be standing across from this shaman, and he was wearing a funny necklace around his neck. I was like, oh, what's your necklace? And he explained it to me and all this stuff. And he said, oh, I do these retreats to Peru where are there places where we go and do plant medicine. I had no idea about any of this stuff at the time. I had never been into it before. And I don't even know why I said this, but I said, I'm going to go on one of your retreats. I'd never met this guy before. That was my first reaction. I was like, okay. Several months later, he had messaged me on Facebook, and he was like, I'm doing a retreat to Peru. Do you want to come? And I was like, I do want to come, actually. And again, I had no idea about any of this stuff. I wasn't involved in it at all. And so Victor used to manage a gas station like down the street from our house. And so I had to like go run an errand or something. And so I stopped by the gas station, and, I was talking to Victor, and I said, Victor, would you have a problem with it if I went to Peru for 2 weeks to do psychedelics on a mountaintop with a whole bunch of strangers? and Victor's like, well, I'm not going to do it, but I know what you're talking about, and you should absolutely do it. Like, he was totally 100% in favor of this idea. And I was like, okay, the universe is aligning. All the stars are coming together. And so a couple weeks after Donald Trump won the election in 2016, I was on a plane to Peru. And I flew into Lima, and then I took a flight to Cusco, and then they basically put us in a van and drove us like an hour and a half outside of Cusco. And we went to this little retreat where there's like a main house and then all sorts of these different apartments and like a yurt and all this stuff, all in the middle of the jungle. And I'm going to show you some pictures of that. And then so we stayed there for like 10 days. And then we took a train through the Amazon to go to Machu Picchu for the last part of it. And so these are the pictures from that. So
cool.
So this picture was taken while we were going through the Amazon on Black Friday, which I always thought was funny. Like I was in the literal Amazon on Black Friday. Some people were shopping on Amazon. No, I was in the literal Amazon on Black Friday.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So these pictures are in kind of a weird order. So they're not necessarily in chronological order. I'm just kind of scrolling through my Facebook. So this is actually in the town of Machu Picchu, because Machu Picchu isn't just a mountain, it's actually a town. And so this is like what you first see. It's just like a really teeny tiny little town. There's not like a lot there or anything. So that's that. And these are just some sculptures that were around the town. You can see that.
Neat.
The garbage cans, which I thought were funny.
I love that. I bet people would throw their trash away more if they had like fun garbage cans.
Yep, I agree. And then this is like the town square. Now, this church is interesting. So this church in it, you aren't allowed to take pictures in it, but they actually have a crucifix with a black Jesus.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of like an interesting thing to see. People can find pictures of it online, I think, if they want to see that. But we did go into it. This, I think, is just going through. This is just like in the town. There's the train tracks coming into the town. That's me on the train. Don't worry about it. See, I was wearing my lapis lazuli necklace.
That's one of my favorite stones.
Yeah. I used to always wear, anytime I did a keynote talk or anything like that, I used to always wear lapis lazuli every single time.
It's very calming. I love it.
And then this was actually at the house we stayed at for 10 days. They actually had a peacock there. And so this was the pet peacock at the house I stayed at, just showing off.
Oh, nice.
And then this is in Peru, they sell this street corn, and it's like the greatest thing ever. It's just like, it's a giant fuck off corn. If you ever have go to a Peruvian restaurant or something and they have corn on the menu, you should absolutely get it, because it's honestly like the best thing ever.
That looks like ancient grains corn, not like the hybridized weird shit that we have now. It's probably like what corn's supposed to look like.
Oh, it's so good though, and they just sell it on the street, and so you can basically buy it like anywhere.
Nice.
So this is there was a guy that brought all these crystals to the house I was staying at and was just like selling us crystals. So I actually got these 3 at the bottom. I still have these. They're all sitting on my desk, so I still actually have all of them. And it's actually funny because this turquoise one, when I brought that through the security at the airport, they thought it was a bomb. And they were like, "Why do you have this?" I'm like, "Because it's pretty." It's a rock, relax.
Oh my god.
This is the this was the main house that we stayed in.
Look at that.
This is the inside. They had like a living room with a bunch of couches. You can see the ohm on the floor. They had a fireplace, all sorts of books.
See, I was thinking like super rustic hut. This is nice.
No, it was very, very nice. I mean, it was very rustic. Like we were taking shower. We didn't have showers in our room. We had outhouse showers with all sorts of bugs and shit in them. And you had to you didn't have a toilet in your room. You had to go to an outhouse. So it was very rustic, but it was also pretty.
It doesn't have like dirt floors and shit. I mean, like it's really nicely cared for and decorated and very pretty.
And this is like the dining area, so there were no chairs. We would sit on these pillows. This is like a Palo Santo cactus that actually bloomed while we were there, which was actually pretty cool.
Nice.
This is just this is what, remember I was talking about condors a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
So this is at an animal sanctuary that we went to, and so they actually had a giant ass condor there.
That thing looks enormous.
Yeah, and here it is in flight.
Wow.
So that was cool. I was happy to find those pictures. They've got like llamas, alpacas, like everywhere.
Oh,
and I actually got, you'll see the yarn, I think, in some of the pictures, but I actually got yarn that was made from their fur, but then they dyed it red with like the way that the ancients used to dye yarn, which is with the blood of bugs. So you crush up a bunch of bugs, you get the blood, and then you use the blood to dye the yarn. And I bought a bunch of that yarn while I was in Peru, and I think you'll see some of it in the pictures. I don't know what that thing is, but he was carrying something, so it was pretty cool. More llamas, toucan, monkey.
Oh, I get a monkey.
Parrot. I think this is in Cusco. Just like, so this is like they had all these big ass markets where like you can basically find anything and you get to barter and stuff like that.
I love those kinds of places. Ah, so cool.
That was the best. Just some cactus. This is the backyard of the house we were staying at. It had this giant waterfall behind it. And one day we hiked up the mountain to go to the waterfall, and they had you like stand right in front of the waterfall and basically do like one of these. And it was just like super powerful because you can feel all the energy of the water coming down.
Yeah.
That was rad. This is a whole bunch of cheeses, I think, in the market. This is just like a food market in the town we're at.
Is it llama milk, or is it goat milk or cow milk?
I don't remember. It might be llama milk. That would actually make the most sense. I definitely saw more llamas there than I did cows.
Yeah.
Then this is, again, just their food market.
Oh, wow. Open air. Look at that. So cool.
This is a statue of Jesus in Cusco. So it's kind of like the Brazil one, except it's a lot smaller. Yeah. This is funny because I was like, this is an archaeological site that we went to. And so I was trying to remember, I was like, what the fuck was that? Because we went there and walked around. And so what I did is, check this out. I took a picture of this and I put it into AI in Grok. And I said, where is this picture? And it knows where it is. It's the Marais archaeological site in Peru. So isn't that
like
cool?
An amphitheater or something, or?
Well, so no, it's like an agricultural thing. I think it's like they said the AI said it was the 15th century, and basically after the Spanish conquistadors came to Peru, they stopped using it. But I think that's what that was. It was an archaeological or like a agriculture thing.
Yeah, staged farming. Yeah,
that was just the vans outside of that architecture thing. Yeah, coffee. This again is the backyard of the house we stayed at. This is the yurt that we did like ceremonies in and stuff like that. So it was all these like lush gardens and things. And I got very used to walking in bare feet outside, which was kind of cool.
Oh, I love walking bare feet. I never put shoes on.
Some more just like the gardens and stuff like that. Beautiful. That again is
that's terrace gardening. Yeah. Beautiful.
Archaeological site. This is back in Machu Picchu. So that's like the iconic photo. So We got there pretty early in the day, so there weren't people there yet. So I got a really great photo of it. It was awesome.
Is it really hard to get to because it's like a million steps or a million mile path or whatever?
No, so they have buses that will bring you up, but it is pretty high, and there are people that will actually hike all the way up, which is crazy because it is really high. But it's just like the moment you walk out and you see that, it's just like it's this unreal kind of like otherworldly thing, and the energy there is like so just like pure. It just like it feels good. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's very clean. I guess the best way.
They lived very harmoniously in Machu Picchu. The people that lived there, they were very respectful of all the previous cultures that occupied it, and they were very. It was just there's something about the ancient peoples that preceded the Inca and then the Inca themselves. They were actually very respectful, peaceful people. And if we watch the Machu Picchu one, there's this heartbreaking statement from one of the conquistadors. I don't know if it was Cortez or it was a different one, but one of the conquistadors that wrote in his journal that it actually broke his heart to bring war and destruction to such a beautiful society.
Yeah. I can totally understand that because the people in Peru were awesome. It's like everyone is very happy there. Everyone's very peaceful. So I can absolutely like understand that perspective. I think the thing that's amazing about Machu Picchu is when you think about it, like, I mean, you have to take a train through the jungle to get there. You have to take a bus up a giant mountain in order to be able to get this. And then you think about one of the books I was reading while I was there was about how this was created. And you have to think about they had to drag all this stuff through the woods, through the Amazon, for miles and miles up the mountains. I mean, like that's just like it's an insane level of effort. Even just to find this place, they had to, you know.
Did they
levitate it with the things? Or did they? That's me and in Lima. Don't worry about that. That was on my way home. Whatever.
Ooh.
Dogs.
Puppy.
So this is the yarn that was dyed with the blood of bugs. There's more. There we go. There we're back to this. So again,
a really nice tone of red with those bug juice.
They actually did. It's a really nice yarn.
That's pretty.
So this is more stuff from Machu Picchu, and you can see like I took a lot of pictures. I know we're going to be talking about like the stones and stuff like that, but
there's 3 different kinds of architecture in Machu Picchu.
You probably know. I don't remember it. I used to know it when I was actually there, but I don't remember it now. So this is like that big ass stone had some significance to it, but I don't remember
that's what they did is they would carve the natural mountain. That was the original architecture. The second was the molded stones, and the third is the dry stack pile. So like on the left corner, upper left-hand corner, that's your dry stack pile. There's names for all these. I don't remember what they are. And then you've got here, looks like representations of 2 of the kinds of architecture.
Yeah, and we'll see a whole bunch more too. So this is again, this is like their irrigation. So it's just going through the different like buildings and things.
Wow, that had to feel amazing. Yeah,
it was
very
really
respectful to the original stuff that was there.
Yes.
But you can tell they couldn't match it, so they had to just dry stacked what they could around it.
Exactly. So again, this is just their buildings. And then this is a sundial.
Oh, cool. Again, now that's your sculpted stone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like gobsmacked by the sharpness of all those peaks. The Andes are not a joke.
Oh no, the Andes are not a joke at all. You know what I was thinking about when I was flying, I think it was into Cusco. Is like you're looking out over the Andes, right? It's like I'm thinking about that movie Alive where the plane crashed in the Andes and they have to go. I was like, I can totally understand how a plane could crash here and they could never ever find it. I can absolutely understand how that happened. Yeah.
If you want to see a better version of that story, watch. I think it's called Snow People or People of the Snow or something like that. It is brutal. Alive was nothing compared to this, and it was about the same story.
I'm definitely gonna watch that. So this is like what he's trying to demonstrate with this. You can't really see it, but he's got a compass on his phone, and what he's trying to show is this rock was a compass that was like perfectly situated to go due north.
Cool.
So there's more. Let's see. You can see how this is just them building the irrigation down the mountain. I think this was on the backside. But just look at the size of these rocks.
Now that is the molded stone.
Yeah.
Or what I call molded stone. There's a reason I say that, but it's a different. So then you've got your carved stuff that looks like it was carved into the rock. These are specifically placed down. These are the ones they don't understand how this was done. Nobody can explain this.
Really?
And that's why I want to that first video that I chose. That's why I want to do that one, because it talks about how these could possibly have been made. But if you look at it, they're kind of earthquake proof, because there's somebody who did like a scale model of the wall in Teotihuacan, I believe it was, and they shook it and it didn't freaking move at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But just look how exact all that stuff fits right in there like little puzzle pieces.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy what they were able to do. And when you think about the context of all this, I don't remember what that was. So you can see like the doorways.
Escaping the hordes from the south is what I remember.
These were at Machu Picchu, the llamas running around.
Love it. Wild llamas?
Yeah.
Nice.
You know what's weird about Peru is there are stray dogs everywhere.
Oh wow.
Everywhere. Like the dogs will run around like the cities and all this stuff, and they would get hit by the cars because they run right up everywhere.
Oh.
Let's see. I haven't looked at some of these pictures in a long ass time. There's another picture, the classic shot. Llama laying around, just chilling
in the sun.
chilling. Look at they like thatched roofs and all. Anyway, I think that might be. Oh, this is like a 360, I guess.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Uh-oh, are we getting a dog?
Well, they're out there barking, so I start screaming at them, and they come right. Oh my god!
Yeah, there we go. There's Honey.
Oh,
Honey modeling the knitting.
Oh, that is
modeling the knitting.
Oh, don't eat my microphone, love. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, those are my pictures from Machu Picchu, and I thought I would share them with you guys because
that is so cool. What an awesome experience! It's a bucket list item. My two aunts and I were talking about on my dad's side. We're talking about going to Machu Picchu, and then so I think COVID happened. But yeah, I would love. I've been fascinated with it ever since I read The Secret.
You know what's funny is I didn't even like when I said I would go on that retreat, it didn't even occur to me that we would go to Machu Picchu, and then he had like a special like add-on that everyone ended up doing to go, and I was like, yeah, I have to go. Like I never actually really even thought about Machu Picchu being a place that I would go, and then I was like, oh, of course, like why wouldn't I? Of course.
Yeah, God, if you're there. I mean, let's just fly to Machu Picchu this weekend, darling. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the shaman was a Palestinian. He's probably so not Puritan, but I did end up doing a lot of energy stuff with him, and he was a nice guy. I appreciated him. Cool. So that was my experience, and so I wanted to share that. And we've got a whole bunch of videos to watch about giant rock structures. Do you want to talk to us about what we're going to be seeing tonight?
Yes. So megalithic structures and societies. The thing about these kinds of things is they're older than we think they are. That is what Graham Hancock always says. Things keep getting older and older. They are older than we think they are. They keep trying to date things so it lines up with like the timeline that they've created for current man and the evolution of man. And these are so old, it doesn't match up. That's what's so fascinating about places like Machu Picchu and one of them, Teotihuacan. They're really tricky words. And Stonehendge and the Serpent Mountain in Ohio. And they've even found molded stone in Montana. And I want to do an American monolithic site, I think, next time. But just to kind of stay on, I may have to go intervene with my dogs once you start this. But the thing is they don't know a lot about the people. There's especially in places like Göbekli Tepe and the sun door and shit like that. Like there's no pottery, or there's no gravestones, or there's no grains. It's like these places were not where people lived necessarily. Some places they could find these things, but they're like, that must have been a gathering because it's not prolonged. So they're trying to figure out who are the people who built these? How did they freaking do it? Because they're way too heavy. And people who have tried to recreate these can't. Most of these structures let's see, they actually are. God, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by my dog barking. I'm worried about my neighbors. Most of these structures can't be reproduced or replicated by current technology. And they're far too heavy for anything unless you have a big crane to lift stuff up. And even for that, like some of these are 65,000 tons.
Yep.
That's not a joke, man. So yeah, and it's just fascinating. I love this stuff, but I think it proves that there were ancient civilizations that were advanced way before we were. And the one thing that all of these stones, well, most of them, I can't say all, most of them have in common is the Younger Dryas. And
I don't know what that means.
Oh, well, I'm right.
I don't know what that means.
Younger Dryas.
Oh,
That
good.
that was what happened roughly around 12,000 years ago. That was the Great Flood. That's what wiped out
the Noah
Lemuria
flood. The
and
Noah
Atlantis.
flood. Okay.
Every culture has a flood myth, not just the Christians and Jews. It's not your special thing. Everybody has one. So that was what happened. They're trying to figure out how the Younger Dryas happened. So anyway, yeah, let's look at, I'm going to do Younger Dryas.
Yeah,
but it happens every time they try to date something ancient, it always dates back to the Younger Dryas. Always.
That's funny.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Okay,
all right.
I gotta go get my dog so my neighbors don't turn me in. I'll be right back. Go ahead and start.
All right. All right. Let's get started with this video. I don't know how to pronounce this, so we're just going to dig right into it.
In the Peruvian Andes, at a height of 3.5 thousand meters, one can find Cusco.
Cusco!
city
That's where I was.
Immediately fascinates with its universe of narrow streets built back during the times of the
And
Incas,
stray
by the
dogs
tenebrous
running around
architecture of the
everywhere.
colonial period, by the colorful Indian garments, and the mass of tourists who come here from all over the world to get closer to the mysteries of our history. In Cusco, everything reminds you of the Incas, the founders of the city, the ancient walls made of the thoroughly polished boulders, the language of Quechua used by the Incas centuries ago, the seven-colored flag of Tuantusuyu, the flag of the Incan Empire that is now flying in the wind in the central square of the
there's a
city,
pride
next
flag.
to the flag of the Republic of Peru.
Wait, is that the
According to
Peru
legend,
flag? I'm so
Cusco was
confused.
founded by the
seven
elder
colors on
son of the messenger
doesn't
of the
matter, I
sun
guess.
god, Manco
Ooh.
Capac, who came to this place with his sister wife, Aclio, to bring people the laws of civilization, to help them liberate themselves from ignorance, poverty, and aggression. To him belongs the first commandment of the state: don't lie, don't steal,
See, they're spinning
don't
yarn.
be lazy. This commandment and such an approach allowed the creation of a highly organized society.
Listen,
The Inca.
listen, I have a trigger, a hairpin trigger with the pride flag, okay? I misspoke. I was having a crossing of the stream, okay?
I seriously doubt they'd put up with that in that part of the world.
Last
though.
time I was confused. I was like, okay.
Empire, which ruled over millions of people and stretched for thousands
Yeah,
of
reclaim
kilometers
the
from
rainbow.
Ecuador
Real.
to Chile.
Yeah.
The lost civilization has left a lot of unresolved mysteries. The Incas did not have their own script and therefore left no written records, and so whatever we know about them comes from the chronicles of the Spanish conquerors. One of such mysteries is the Incan architecture. It is believed that the majority of the various Incan sites and constructions were built within less than 1 century. Even today, these constructions inspire awe and admiration among both the historians and the architects, as well as among the multiple tourists. Among these are the sites of Ollantaytambo, the terraces of Pisac, the laboratory in Moray,
Right, there it
the
is.
famous
Hooray.
flying
Yeah.
city of Machu Picchu,
That was where we stayed at the house.
the temples and
Oh, okay.
palaces of Cusco, and many others. However, some scholars believe that the Incas did not construct all of these themselves, but simply took over the sites that were already built and used them for their own benefit. At the high hill in the northern suburb of Cusco, there is the famous Sacsayhuaman, probably one of the most striking mysteries of architecture. This is what Garcilaso de la Vega wrote about in his Comentarios Reales
I
de
think
los
we did go
Incas
here.
in the 17th century.
I feel like we did go here.
It's impossible to
Sacsayhuaman?
imagine the
Yeah.
proportions of this endeavor until you see it. After a laborious study and a close examination of the stones used in the construction, one can't help but believe that sorcery must have been involved in the construction process.
Real, look at those stones.
So outstanding is the impression that they make. Could it really be demons who created it and not people?
Remember, demons are a name for everything. They're anything that's not a human or an angel is a demon, even if it's aliens.
Sacsayhuaman consists of 3 layers of zigzag walls made of megaliths, large boulders weighing dozens or even hundreds.
I'm not ready for August. Are you ready for? I cannot fucking believe it.
No.
I don't want to talk about it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Of tons. Sacsayhuaman also encompasses
wanna
a
talk
lot of
about it.
other buildings and constructions that stretch along a vast territory. It is believed that the main construction job was done in the middle of the 15th century during the reign of Inca Pachacutec. Unfortunately, it is impossible to make a definite statement as to how the site looked like in ancient times. For the Spaniards who came here in the middle of the 16th century, the destruction of Sacsayhuaman was somewhat a symbol of the victory of the kingdom of God over paganism, of European civilization over
We
Indian
celebrate
barbarism.
everything by conquest
The
and
site
death.
was used not
Yep.
only as a source of the construction materials for the churches and the private mansions of Cusco, but was also subjected to a purposeful demolition. Only the megalithic walls remained in place, since the Spaniards were not able to destroy them.
That really tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The precision and accuracy with which the boulders and the walls were fit to each other is mesmerizing, and it is considered by many people to be unrivaled even today. In the spots where the masonry was disturbed, one can see that it's impossible to squeeze a sheet of paper in between the boulders. Even more, it is impossible to even notice joint. The method of Sacsayhuaman's construction was perplexing, not only for the medieval chroniclers. The above-mentioned Garcilaso de la Vega even wanted to notarize the size of the boulders so that people in the medieval Spain would believe his stories about Sacsayhuaman, but for the modern architects and archaeologists as well. For the latter, it remains unfathomed how it was possible to transport these blocks of stones and to fit them at such non-linear surfaces. The Incas knew no wheels, no draft animals,
hold on
and
a
there
second.
is no
Yeah.
evidence of jack levers.
Llamas.
Llama. They're not even trying to build, like we think of a brick wall as, you kind of stagger them, and then you do a line and then you do stagger, do another line. They're not even trying to stagger them. They're just, they're such unusual shapes, and one rock fits in one way, this with another rock, and then it curves around the other way with another rock. And you think, well, what? That's awfully tedious. Why would they carve them that way? And they may not be carved. So he'll get to it towards, I think it's actually kind of 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through, where they get to the theory that I think is how these rocks are made, but we can't explain how that could be possible.
Yeah. And you think about it too, it's not like they're putting this stuff on an even surface. This is going up and down hills.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it's uneven terrain, but yet they had like this, the top of the walls are perfectly straight, and they didn't just pour concrete and then carve intricate shapes in it, because there are some places where they've separated and you can see perfectly through all the way.
Yeah.
These are all separate stones, and they're several tons each, most of them.
well, I think that's what remember that picture with the phone where he's trying to show it's due north. That's like what they're like, the precision of what
Yeah.
they did. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Or any other devices facilitating the work with such heavy weights. By the time the Spaniards arrived there, the Incas were no longer building anything. In addition, the chronicles and legends in terms of the construction methods mentioned nothing else but manual labor, the magical assistance of the earth, and the wish of the stone to be transported. The walls were made of limestone fixed together by a method of drywalling, without any cement. At the destroyed parts of the walls, one can see the wall structure. First, there goes the lining. It was done by means of the high-quality polygonal masonry. Then there goes the inside filling, rows of roughly processed boulders and clay. The builders did not follow a common procedure where the installation of the heaviest megaliths would go first, while the filling of the wall with smaller stones would go second. One can see that the large megaliths, and these are the largest stones, rest on a foundation that was prepared in advance. For your information, the weight of the biggest cornerstone, according to some estimates, reaches around 300 tons.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
In addition, to reach such precision and accuracy of joints that the Sacsayhuaman has, one would have to do a multiple adjustment and a lot of finely calculated transportations of the stone blocks. Limestone is a solid but very fragile material that often has a very non-homogeneous structure that can split and crumble at the slightest obliqueness. It is not clear how these constructors could work with the vertically placed huge boulders of this weight with only the help of the primitive manual labor. The adjoining surfaces of the blocks often have a complicated three-dimensional relief. This may be good and efficient for the areas of high seismic activity that are not rare in this region. It allows the boulders to return to their fixed position in a natural way. The gypsum model demonstrates how stable such masonry is, even without any adhesive means.
Wow.
So it doesn't fall apart in an earthquake, which they do have.
Many blocks have corrugations and hollows. Archaeologists believe that these were the lifting fixtures. However, many of these hollows have the shape of simple dents that are in no way suitable for utilization of any levers or crutches. Moreover, at the back side of the large boulders, which is usually not processed, there are often no hollows at all. In addition, the Incas did not possess any timber that could be suitable for producing such construction tools. The aromatic eucalyptus groves, nowadays bountiful and lush on the slopes of the local mountains, appeared here only in the 19th century. Further evidence that the ancient constructors had methods unknown to us comes from the positioning of the granite blocks in the Temple of the Sun in Ollantaytambo, 40 kilometers to the north of Cusco. These blocks were transported from the other side of the canyon, across the river, and were lifted up the narrow precipitous cliff. There even remains the megaliths which were abandoned on the way and which possess no signs of transportation tools. At the cliff itself, there is too little space to place the structures and the necessary number of people to manage this weight. Another mystery is how the stone blocks were installed and adjusted to each other at an almost precipitous cliff.
Same on Machu Picchu. The things went right down off a cliff.
Yeah.
At the top of the hill surrounded with the walls, there is one of the most amazing buildings in the Sacsayhuaman complex. We are now standing at the top of the mountain where a fortress is erected.
Yeah,
we can
the
see a part of the building itself, as well as the remains of the walls and foundations. In description of the chroniclers, Cieza de Leon, Sarmiento de Gamboa, and Garcilaso de la Vega, this is deemed to be the foundation for the three towers. Most likely this circle, Muyak Marca, was part of the House of the Sun, while the other two towers, called Pocas Marca and Sayak Marca, were located on each side. According to Cieza de Leon, what the Spaniards perceived as a fortress, namely these towers at the upper part of Sacsayhuaman, represented, in fact, a very big ritual complex dedicated to the sun.
Yeah, real.
There was also built the Temple of Lightning, represented by the lines radiating from the towers. The other lower gods resided in other buildings. The Temple of the Rainbow, the Temple of the Moon and the Stars, which surrounded the House of the Sun. The purpose of Sacsayhuaman could be that of a big single complex where the Incas worshipped the sun. This construction was also believed to be the dwelling for the guardian gods, heavenly deities living in the material world.
Todos los dioses de la parte alta están expresadas en esta parte de la realidad concreta.
Beside this version, Sacsayhuaman being a ritual complex, there are plenty of other hypotheses, starting from simple domestic ones, a storage building for food, a water tower, a defensive fortress, and up to the most exquisite theories like Sacsayhuaman providing the influence to the earth through the telluric currents, or Sacsayhuaman being a generator of subtle energies which enable extraordinary powers, etc. Indeed, the construction is more reminiscent of a technological installation than a temple for worship. The rigid geometric shapes, the intricate system of water drainage in the western part of the tower, which by the way has an unclear purpose, the megalithic walls protecting the hill from destruction. The foundations are made of limestone. The walls are made from a more solid material, andesite, and its stones of largely rectangular shape are processed with high quality. The remnants of andesite stones can still be found in the area, and they are used for restoration of the complex. Sometimes the andesite blocks are also found inside the destroyed walls, but the archaeologists have no explanation as to this, except for an assumption that for the internal filling of the wall, the constructors used the remains of earlier buildings. Also, there are two entrances into the underground caves, both of which are bricked up for safety purposes. It was said that different people, mainly those who sought adventures or the lost treasures of the Inca, would often get lost or go insane in the tunnels. That is why in the 1920s, the local authorities decided to brick up the entrances into the caves. The intriguing caves sparked the interest of the georadar researchers who were working here in July 2012. Various tunnels and underground caves are not a rare thing in Peru. However, in the area of the Tower of Muyacmarca, which is believed to be the most likely location of the underground constructions, it appeared to be impossible to perform the georadar research due to the disturbances coming from the towers located in direct visibility. None of the underground buildings or their remainders were found around the walls, where rock fractures causing the deformation of the walls occurred. However, in the area of Lake Cocha and Mountain Chincana, the remainders of the underground constructions were discovered. One of them was interpreted by the experts as a sepulcher. Behind the hill, which is believed to be in fact just an extrusion, that is when a marshy lava squeezes out during an eruption, there is a large oval plaza, Cocha. Historians assume that it was an artificial reservoir. However, judging by its shape, it rather reminds of a big arena. The true purpose of the object is anyway unknown. At the edge of Cocha, there are the large rocks which seem to be chaotically piled up. No one can explain what was the mysterious force that brought them there. There's even a boulder leaning against a polygonal masonry wall. That means that some of the walls and ledges were evidently constructed here before the large stones appeared around. Scientists do not exclude the possibility that what they see are the remainders of a very ancient and big construction. A similar site exists in the place called Cayanca, located 2 kilometers from the complex. However, the size of those
So-
perfectly processed and
I want to emphasize this because like I mean the video is kind of going around to all these different sites. Stuff like this is everywhere in Peru. It's fucking everywhere. We're not just talking like one or two places. It's like you can throw a rock, no pun intended, and hit something like this in Peru.
Yeah. It's amazing the wealth of archaeological sites there.
Mm-hmm.
seemingly chaotically scattered stones is less impressive. The topic of imported stones arose during the tour around the area several times.
But
In
also,
the
I had a thought
vicinity,
about that.
there's a big rock,
Hang on.
Chincana, that is
Go ahead.
If the Younger Dryas did cause a flood that wiped out everything in the Pacific Ocean practically, then, and probably a lot of America was flooded, I would imagine, the lower regions and stuff. So they would have to flee to higher ground, which would be the Andes Mountains.
Yeah.
The ancient civilizations, and if there were any, if it was extraterrestrial or if it was an advanced Earth civilization, either way, it makes sense that they would be there.
Yep. I agree.
famous for the large number of hollows on its surface. It is said that this is exactly the rock that the Incas attempted to move once many years ago. It is called the Tired Stone.
The
and
Tired
it killed
Stone.
thousands of Indians during its fall. When the stone fell down, it barred the entrance to a dungeon that was worshipped by the Incas.
Oh,
Hence, the Inca
Whoa.
cut out a new entrance and steps in the mountain. Their remains are still well visible.
wow.
It is hard to say what transportation technologies were used by the Incas when they were moving the rocks weighing several thousand tons, or even if it took place at all. But the separate stones or rocks, which originally were not from here, are also found in the neighborhood in the form of the huacas. A huaca is any site that the Incas associated with a manifestation of superior power. To them often belong the stones and rocks with the cuts on their surface. The Indian legends and the Spanish chronicles often give a detailed description of the interaction between the Indians and the natural forces via these huacas. This is what Garcilaso de la Vega wrote in his chronicles. It, the huaca, denotes a sacred object. Anything could be such an object. Anything through what the devil could speak to a person. Among huacas, there were idols, rocks, huge stones, or trees where the enemy of man penetrated, so that to make people believe that he was the god itself. The name huaca was also applied to any temple, be it a small or a large one, to the tombs in the fields, as well as to the corners inside the houses from which the devil spoke to the priests and other people who communicated with him in a friendly manner. Another chronicler of Indian origin, Goaman
Wow.
at the end of the 16th
Hey,
century wrote,
Breaking news, Jennifer, did you hear that there was an 8.7 magnitude earthquake?
No.
And now there's a massive tsunami warning.
Where? What
Where did the earthquake happen? I don't know where exactly. I thought it was like Russia or something like that. But apparently this earthquake is so powerful that waves can come across the entire Pacific Ocean and possibly hit the West Coast.
Oh shit.
Yeah, this like is there's like a tsunami warning for all of Hawaii. Like one of the community members in Hawaii was in her early. That's crazy. I was just looking at this simulator where it's like they actually think that the waves from this might hit the West Coast.
Holy cow.
Wow.
I wonder, like, if it gets all the way there, that it builds momentum as it goes, right? So
That's crazy.
that could be pretty devastating.
A tsunami is supposed to hit Hawaii around 7 p.m. Hawaii time.
Well, I don't know what time
Wow. That's got to be a trip to be in Hawaii right now, man. Like they lose everything to fire and now a tsunami is going to hit them. And it's like they have all these hours of warning and there's like nothing they can do about
There's
it.
nowhere you can go. You just got to go to the opposite side of the wave and cross your fingers, really.
Yeah. Man. Prayers for people in Hawaii, man. Like, and Alaska too, I guess. But I think Hawaii is actually probably more problematic right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
that through huacas, the Incas would come to know about the location of silver, gold, and other mines. This is what he wrote about some of the Incan kings.
Wait, other breaking news. Apparently, Eric Cartman is going to play Charlie Kirk in an episode of South Park.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. They've been like really jumping up and down on Trump and everybody, but they pick on everyone.
I love that Cartman's gonna play Charlie Kirk. Holy shit! Here's a picture of Cartman like pointing at a college student, giving him the business with these security.
Oh my god. Well, I guess that shows that Charlie Kirk has finally outpaced Steven Crowder.
I guess so. Wow, what an honor. What an honor, Charlie Kirk. What an honor.
Tupac Inca Yupanqui could talk to Huacas. From them, he would learn about the past and the future events of the whole world. Huayna Capac, one of the last sovereigns of the Incas, wanted to do the same, but Huacas did not want to talk to him. It was said that only the idol of Paria Caca responded to him, and it told that there was little time left for the talks and for the reign of the Incas, since the people who bear the name of Viracocha were about to come to this land already during the reign of Huayna Capac, or straight after it, so that to rule on behalf of a single and great idol, which they would bring with them.
Oh wow.
The Huacas surround Cusca all around. In this region, there are many rock formations or large rocks scattered around and densely covered with the various hollows made on a strongly eroded surface. The cutouts and hollows have very diverse shapes, from the most primitively processed hollows and up to the geometrically calibrated ones. No systematic approach is perceived in the staircase and rectangular cuts, although some of them could be used as benches or steps for a more convenient ascent to the hill. On the other hand, there is definitely a certain similarity between all Huacas. All of them usually contain a rock with cuts. Huacas often have the following structure: multiple and mostly rectangular cuts and stairs, imposed in a rather chaotic manner. One or few well-processed walls with the bosses, the corrugations, a cave which is cut with high quality and containing several compartments, something like a grotto, and a small land plot or a stone processed in a different manner, with the images resembling snakes, animals, or the curved riverbeds. Often such Huacas are adjacent to or surrounded with the smaller constructions of the polygonal masonry of different quality. Some Huacas also have an evident connection to the various water drainage systems. For example, in Cayanca, there's a Huaca where the two outlets in the rock evidently served as the sources of water, and they are accompanied with the well-defined drains. Next to it, at a big rock covered with the cuts all over the surface, there is a picturesque winding watercourse. It's very hard to say what was the function of such a minuscule drain. The width of the watercourse is only a few centimeters.
Probably blood.
Yeah. Incan sacrifice.
Mayans, I think, were bigger into that than the Incans were.
Incans did it, though.
Yeah.
They all did it.
During the georadar research of Sacsayhuaman, there were collected the samples to be further examined in detail in Russian scientific research centers. In the course of that further examination, it appeared that the blocks mainly consisted of the fine crystalline limestone. The ancient constructors were obviously using a high-quality material. Some of the blocks could make a dinging sound when knocked.
Yeah, the dinging sound.
Yeah.
I remember this from that show I watched on Gaia that time. They were talking about rocks that ring like bells.
Yeah, rocks that sing. There's one particular riverbed somewhere where you can play a melody on them.
That's crazy.
Yep. And Stonehenge does the same thing.
On the other hand, the larger stones often possessed various faults and a rather non-homogeneous structure, which is normal for natural formations. The raw material for the walls was most likely taken directly at the construction sites, since the limestone in the crag near the tower has the same structure as the limestone in the blocks. At the surface of Sacsayhuaman stones, the traces of processing and hammering can be clearly seen. These are the small hollows with slight defects in them as a result of hammering. The majority of the blocks in Sacsayhuaman are covered with such markings. Such tracks appear after thumping against the limestone, which is the raw material for the walls, with something more solid. We can see that the constructors were using different tools to process the more fine details. The dots at the blocks become smaller and denser by the stone's edges. Having conducted the experiments on processing at a nearby natural stone, we had no more doubts as to this type of processing had been applied. There are commonly known legends about the Indians making the stones soft and malleable with the help of some liquid. During the experimental processing of a nearby stone, we attempted to apply vinegar. Vinegar dissolves limestone, but it would be ineffective for all other formations. After we rinsed the surface with water, it became clear that the effect was different from that visible at the stone blocks all over the place. This method is neither suitable for a precise fixing of stones to each other.
Все. Ну, не то чтобы очень ровная поверхность, но приблизительно вот.
Together with the hammering, there was another method of processing applied. It is a more refined one, but it is yet not known to us. The adjoining surfaces are often abrasive. This allows to have the minimum clearance at the joints, only fractions of millimeters. Nevertheless, this does not explain how one can achieve such accuracy with big megaliths consisting of solid yet fragile material, as the local limestone is, where the surface of one block is almost an identical copy of the surface of another adjoining block. Even the Spaniards acknowledged the elegance of the outlines of the processed stones and the multiplicity of the small and precisely implemented details at the blocks of all sizes. When evaluating the accuracy of joints, it is worth noting the megalith of Ollantaytambo granite is a more solid material than the limestone of Sacsayhuaman. This raw material demonstrated the pinpoint accuracy of processing and joining.
Wow.
How tight that is.
Nowadays, we use rather complex devices to achieve such results. But the Incas did not possess accurate metering devices. They used only the most primitive methods of construction and the stone tools. Up until now, the debates continue as to how the ancient constructors could achieve such accuracy. Very
Either it
often,
wasn't
a
the Incas or they
hypothesis
were way
is
more
expressed
advanced than you
about the
think.
softening of the
Yep.
stone and converting the material of the blocks into a more malleable state. There exist even more exotic hypotheses. It was often observed that the masonry structure of the walls resembled to a live material. Besides that, the Incas themselves believed the stone to be alive. There also exist many legends about the buildings arising out of nowhere in an unfathomable and mysterious way during just one night.
So pause.
Oh, hang on. Ah, where's my mouse? There you go.
So
Go back.
I don't think the Incas built this, personally.
Who do you think built it?
I'm wondering well, here's what I think. I think it was already there.
Maybe.
And when they fled, when the Lemurians fled, where else would you go but someplace that was already created? It's like, oh, look, here's home.
Well, who built it then?
I don't know who. I don't think anybody knows who built it. That's the thing. It's like, this is why people think there was an ancient, more advanced society. Maybe the Lemurians built it. Maybe it was a Lemurian city. Maybe it was the freaking Anunnaki. I mean, like, who knows? Somebody did this, but I don't think it was the Incas. No Aztecs, no Mayans. I don't think anybody did this, but somebody with higher advanced technology. Because I think those rocks are molded. I want to see if he gets into the theory, because I kind of cruised through this. I didn't watch the whole thing, so I don't know if he actually gets into.
I don't know how you can't say those rocks are molded. I mean, obviously they're molded.
Yeah, I mean, like, somehow they had to have softened them, put them in place, and let them harden. But you can't soften limestone with any technology we have today. He does address that.
Aliens. It's always aliens.
Or just advanced coast civilizations. Lemuria had lots of different, according to some people, lots of different species on there. So who knows?
The builders used not only the primitive hammering, while the white dots are the traces of the hammering tool, then the other tracks, which are also well known to us, have no explanation.
It was you, Chris?
Luis Guevara demonstrated a whole collection of various and mysterious tracks of an unknown tool. These tracks are unique. Their quality is small as compared to the total volume of the processed stones. However, it is clear that the majority of these tracks were destroyed with time. This is what Luis Guevara tells about such traces in the cave of one of the Huacas in the suburb of Cusco.
Estamos ubicados en el templo llamado Chactacaca.
We are in the temple of Chictacaca. The chroniclers have not much information about this Huaca, and as of today, the site is under exploration. We are trying to figure out the purpose of this Huaca. During the solstice, the sun illuminates the cave from the inside. All of this space, all of this wall has been processed. The assumption is that it was prepared to be afterwards covered with gold. An unusual tool was used to achieve this result. The elegance and the accuracy of which the surfaces and the steps are done is amazing. I'm not sure if the Incas possessed any tool which could provide such a result. The horizontal surface facing the floor is so smooth that it rather suggests that some soft, moldable material was cut with a device similar to a knife, with the thickness of the razor being only 2 to 3 millimeters. A similar track is found at a diorite rock opposite to the megalithic walls of Sacsayhuaman. Here, a big piece of rock was separated from the main mass by a cut several meters long.
Wow.
And many similar traces are available in Ollantaytambo. At the mountain Inca there is a famous platform that has a perfectly smooth and polished wall and a fluted floor. The cuts were made by a tool resembling a modern hatchet applied for plastic materials, with the width of the razor around 2 millimeters. Cuts are made along the line, but in a rather negligent manner, not caring too much about their accuracy and similarity of the cells. The tool sometimes crosses the furrow from one edge to the other. Close to it, there's another interesting processed land site. It is treated with the same method, 2 cuts inside of each deepening. The site represents 4 regular diamonds traversed by a hollow going around the rock shelf. However, even more unusual traces are available. In Sacsayhuaman, at the western side of the Lake Cocha, there's an amazing stone, the processing style of which is significantly different from all other stones in the area. The surface erosion is normal for limestone, but at the same time, if we look at it more attentively, we can see that the traces of processing in this case resemble more of a ductile plastic material processing, unless the constructors were trying to imitate such treatment with the help of the lapidary technologies only. Such traces can be easily made with fingers on the unhardened clay. However, next to it, there's a figurine produced in a definitely conventional way.
You can see this subtier. This is the arm, one arm, the head, and your body. It's bad, yeah. You know, similar to snakes. You know.
Or maybe lizard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lizards.
Lizards. Yeah, lizards.
Along the whole perimeter of the stone, there's a shelf at which the traces of cuts and grinding can be observed very well. The shelf transforms into a snake-like formation, which the archaeologists actually consider to be the representation of two snakes looking at each other. Again, the tool and the method of such treatment are not known. However, it is hard to shake the impression that these are the consequences of treating a ductile material, especially since at another side of the stone there exist the traces of tapping or hammering. These traces can be seen distinctly. They were obviously done later and have no relation to the mentioned wavy surface of its production. One can also see the signs of a sort of blurring of the material with the subsequent hammering of it. One could assume that part of these traces appeared on the stone during the decoration of the stone with golden jewelry, but it is still very difficult to understand what was the purpose of the constructors being so thorough with imitating the ductile material treatment. A similar trace is available at the stone in the wall. In Kenko, there's a place where the limestone looks exactly like a frozen puddle.
Tell me that's not molten rocks.
However,
somehow.
it's a matter of common knowledge that under the usual conditions, it is impossible to melt down limestone. When heated, limestone loses its features and transforms into quicklime.
So it looks like it's more brittle.
There's even a more surprising discovery. During the excavations of 2008, performed next to the complex called the Temple of the Moon, there was discovered an interesting artifact. Its main value is in the fact that the tracks of processing were not subjected to erosion. It is hard to imagine a tool that could leave such tracks. Such a result cannot be achieved neither by etching nor by scraping, and still less by hammering. The only parallel that comes to mind that these could be the tracks of a heated spear applied to an easily meltable material. In summary, I would like to mention one more discovery that is directly related to the treatment of stones. On Chincan, the mountain that was already mentioned, there was discovered an image resembling a form of writing. At first, this was perceived as ordinary vandalism by the tourists, since it was done with white paint. However, having conducted a more thorough examination, and especially after pouring water on this part of the rock, it appeared that the writing was rather old, and although made in a rather careless way, it looked like the equations written on the blackboard with chalk. It was a surprise to unveil that the white paint had nothing to do with the writing, since the writing was done with an unknown method similar to etching. The writing, in fact, is represented with the whitish crystalline formations incorporated into the stone structure. Unfortunately, it was impossible either to get a scraping or the samples of the writing, since it would lead to the partial destruction of the writing. In the area of Muyakmarca, the tower that we've mentioned, the archaeologists pointed out an andesite stone block with an ornament on it. Its structure and style reminded those of the crystalline writing in Chincan. Nothing of the kind had ever been found before, and that is why there has been no success yet with the deciphering of the writing. Although it is evident that these writings have a direct relation to the ancient constructors. However, the Incas had no script. To store the information, they used kippa.
Jennifer, do you know how they knit in Peru? There is actually a technique for knitting called Peruvian knitting.
Oh,
and
yeah?
what they do is they put the yarn around their neck, or they might wear a pin on their clothes and run it through that. And instead of like doing like the twirl with the yarn like I do, what they do is they put tension on it on the other side and they flick it with their thumb like this.
Oh, wow.
It's actually, I used to do that style of knitting. I just actually got faster with the other style of knitting, and I found out that I really actually dislike tossing the yarn. I like the rhythm of it. But
Yeah.
I like Peruvian knitting is weird, so you might see them do that. That would be cool.
That's neat.
Mm-hmm.
A system of measurement based on the nodules and braiding of the laces. At the same time, we know nothing of how the Incas designed their constructions, wherefrom they received their knowledge, how they transferred it further. We also understand little about their mindset and world outlook. We know very little about those who were considered to be the sorcerers, the priests, and about the mysterious Amota, the philosophers and scientists without whom the Inca sovereigns did not make any important decisions. So, who are they, these ancient constructors of Sacsayhuaman, who are capable of doing things which are beyond explanation in our modern civilized world? The conquistador Don Manso Serra de Leguizamo, the last one of those who were the first ones to conquer Peru, wrote the following about the Incan sovereigns. We found these states in a very good condition. The mentioned Incas were governing them so wisely that among these people there were no thieves, neither vicious men, nor unfaithful wives, no immoral people. Everyone had their honest and useful professions. They knew no crime or execution. Everyone had their own property, and not a single other person would claim it. What urges me to write about this now is my consciousness. Since I feel guilty, we've destroyed all of this by our vicious and mean example. We've eliminated the nation that had such sovereigns and that was so happy.
Instead of learning from them, how did you achieve this utopia?
Yeah.
With this,
What did the Christians do? They fucked it all up.
the
Christians fucked it all up.
They came into it. We need gold for the holy crown.
Yep. That it? That's it.
Yep.
That was crazy. I totally forgot about that place. All right. We're moving on. Our next video is going to be about Machu Picchu. I'm so excited about this. I cannot believe it's been almost 10 years since I went to Peru. God, I hate getting old. Getting old sucks.
You're not old. You're a time machine.
I mean, like I hate to admit that my 40s have actually been better than my 30s, and my 30s were better than my 20s, and it's just the way it goes.
Yep.
But man, do I wish I could go back and relive my 20s knowing what I know now.
Doesn't everybody?
Yo.
I mean, really. And honestly, I kind of started feeling that way when I was around 35. And then when I got in my 40s, I'm like, okay, this is not a joke. I really mean it now. I really go back and have a redo, please.
It's true. Like people give me shit. They're like, you're so old. Why are you doing this? I'm like, I am only as old as I feel. Okay, shut the fuck up. You don't know shit about shit. Shut the fuck up, Zoomer.
Oh God, I love it.
Josh, you wait. You're gonna get old one day too.
Oh yeah. So you're how old? Old enough to know better.
Yeah,
Shut up.
Old enough to know better. Shut the fuck up.
Yep. With love.
With love. Wait, wrong video. Yo! Wow.
That's the one I sent you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't remember this music.
Machu Picchu is one of the best known ancient sites anywhere on Earth. It's an astonishingly beautiful place, an incredibly well-preserved ancient city perched high above the sacred valley of Peru. It was spared destruction by the Spanish conquistadors that were pillaging the Inca in the 16th century, as although they passed through the valleys below, they never found the city high in the clouds above. Abandoned by the Inca, and with the jungle slowly reclaiming the site over a couple of centuries, Machu Picchu was eventually rediscovered and brought back to the world's attention in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
Today,
maybe we'll talk about this, but even the guy that discovered Machu Picchu had to trek his way through the Amazon to find it. And so it's like, you think about that, it's like, how the fuck did they get all those rocks up there?
I'm telling you, it had to be levitation. There's no other way. And I'll tell you, Yasmin, what would I redo in my 20s? The list is long. It is very long.
Yeah. I would do so much different. I would do so much different.
I would have done a lot more damage to this world.
God. Yeah, I would been. Oh, you guys think I'm a pain in the ass now? Oh, you just, if I ever get a fucking time machine, just you wait.
Bustling tourist attraction with thousands of people flowing through its stone passages and staircases.
It would be God level. Yeah.
Almost all of whom are told
people who
that
are
Machu
like,
Picchu...
listen, people who, I know we have some younger people, what people in their 20s, you don't understand. If you get your shit together 20 years before everyone else on the planet, if you take our advice and listen to us, you will have literally God-like power in your 20s to do whatever the fuck you want. And it starts with, you don't give a fuck about what anyone else thinks, and not play pretend. Because I think a lot of people, I don't care what people. No. Most people do care what people think,
like
and that is the first
snot.
problem.
Not a snot-nosed brat. I don't care. Like literally, you will know better, so you'll know you don't have to care.
You don't have to care.
It won't hurt you as much as it did back then.
Yep.
Was created as a hidden Inca enclave, that it was built by them as a defensible retreat for their royalty and elite. Now, the Inca undoubtedly lived here at some point, but were they really responsible for everything that we can see on this remarkable site? A close examination of both the sites.
Okay, I'll tell you what I would redo. I would never get a real job. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I'd probably work for a couple of years just to like get some experience and to make some contacts. I would not have gone into higher education at all. That was a big, see, it's like some of the things I'm like, I wouldn't have gone into higher education now, but like, would I be where I am today if I hadn't done higher education? I don't think so. So it's kind of like one of those double-edged things, but I never would have gone to work in higher education. I would have dated a completely different type of person than I was dating in my 20s, because I almost married a musician. Okay.
So bad.
I almost married a musician, and that was a mistake. And thank God that didn't work out, because that would have been a fucking shit show of epic proportion. And so mostly like just around working, like I would have done completely differently. I would have always been like trying to do exactly what I'm doing now. But quite frankly, I probably would have done it 10 years earlier had I been in my right mind in my 20s. I would have had much more confidence about I wouldn't have had this like desire to prove myself. I don't think as much, because like that was a very big thing for me. It was like proving myself and proving myself worthy, because my father and daddy issues, blah, 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 whatever, all that stuff. But like, that was another thing. So yeah, I would have a completely different professional path. I would have had, I don't even know. I mean, but then I'm like, well, would I have met Victor? Would I don't know. I mean, it's like,
that's the thing. It's like, because I think I would have walked away from that guy that abused me for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
But then it's like, would I have still had the character I have now had I not gone through that?
Yeah.
Or would I have been, I mean, honestly, the one of the things I would have changed is I would have stood up for myself a little more. I would have had better discretion with dating, as you say. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. But I think I would have definitely spoken out and embraced my own power. Just doing that alone would have made so many differences. And I think I would have gotten out of medical billing way fucking sooner. Found something else. Maybe started writing sooner. But again, without all those experiences, my books may not be as good as they are.
Well, I think it's one of those things. It's like, I feel like, at least for me, I feel like I was programmed my entire life with, this is how you should live. You should get a respectable
job. Here's your checklist.
You should do that. You need to settle down and get married by this date and
start pumping out puppies. Yep.
And God knows, like I did rebel against that to a certain extent, but it's also kind of like, yeah. I mean, like it's like I had so many of these ideas put in my head that like I thought I had to have a certain type of job, or I had to have a certain type of salary, or I had to do this, I had to do that. And I think like I would have started my own business much earlier. I would have done everything I could to get out of like having to work for someone else earlier. But you know, you get there when you get there, I guess. And it also does, you know, you have experience. I had experience when I got there. So, you know, I had experience doing consulting. I had experience in a lot of different types of things. And that experience has always come in really valuable too. Like I spent 10 years in marketing. Like I know how to do websites. I know how to make things beautiful. And obviously I use that now. And I think my stuff looks really good because of it. Whereas a lot of people who do things like I do, their stuff looks shitty because they don't know how to do it.
Yeah, you know, honestly, if I could keep my experiences from this go round and go right back to being like 21 or 19 even, I think I would make all the changes but keep all the experiences and still be able to do what I wanted to do, but I would do it earlier. But it's not like I want to go back and forget everything, because then I would just go make the dumb choices.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I agree.
If I can remember everything that I've had that experience, I've done it. I'm just going to go back and play again. I've regenerated at the beginning of the level, and I'm going to go through the level a little differently now. Still remember what I learned. Yeah, I would totally do that.
Its architecture and of the story of its past suggests that its megalithic roots may well stretch back much further in time than orthodox archaeologists believe. My name is Ben. You're watching Uncharted X, and this is my investigation into the origins of one of my favorite sites in Peru, Machu Picchu.
Yeah. I like the music of this one. It's very fun.
In this video, we're going to take a closer look at some of the features of Machu Picchu, and then dive into the history of this site and the story of how it was rediscovered by the adventurers and archaeologists of the early 20th century. Located on top of some very steep mountains in southern Peru, Machu Picchu looks down on some spectacular valleys and the roaring Urubamba River. It sits at a height of around 7,970 feet or 2,430 meters in altitude. This actually makes it one of the lower elevation sites when it comes to the Sacred Valley region, and it's a misconception that I often hear that Machu Picchu is at some very high elevation. The reality is Machu Picchu is considerably lower in elevation.
Let me tell you about altitude in Peru. It will fuck you up. It will the first night I was in Peru, I was like, it was the weirdest thing because like everyone was talking about like the altitude is gonna make you sick. I was like, yeah, like whatever. The first night I'm in Peru, I basically we were sitting outside and like it hit me like that, and all of a sudden I got super sick to my stomach. I didn't even have enough time to get up and run anywhere. I just puked.
Oh wow.
And I was like, and it was like it was like so it was so disturbing because it came on like that, like out of nowhere. Whoa. And the people at the place that was hosting us were like, that's okay, it happens all the time.
Oh my god. Wow.
But altitude will fuck you up, man.
Well, I live at altitude, but it's not Machu Picchu altitude.
Yeah. Well, and where I was in Peru, in Pisa, it was even higher altitude than Machu Picchu was.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know what that is?
I don't remember off the top of my head. It's been a long time, but like I was like the struggle was real. I had never experienced anything like that.
The 13th step of the Denver Capitol building is exactly a mile high. And they also have like a row of chairs in the stadium that are, I think, blue, and that's the mile high. And I'm higher than that because I'm in the foothills. So I'm higher. I'm over 5,280. So now I want to learn. I want to know how high. Let's see. What is?
Hang on. I'm gonna look at what is the altitude in Pisac. I don't know how to spell Pisac.
Just say Machu Picchu for now.
Peru. Well, no, because I want to get this location. It'll know when I get it in there. I'm doing ChatGPT. Come on, ChatGPT, give me an answer. Pisac is 10,000 feet above sea level.
Oh wow, twice as high as I am.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, man.
What is it at Machu Picchu?
So, like people who live at altitude, if I have this correct, I think it's their blood is it thinner or thicker? So now I can't remember. But yeah, because like the Sherpas, they are especially those people that live way high up in like near Everest and in the Andes and all that. Like these people, not the Andes. Well, this is the Andes. I meant I just lost the name of that mountain range. But anyway, they actually have a special blood that is found nowhere else in the world that can absorb almost 100% of the oxygen in the air.
That's crazy.
And it's not, and it's so they're actually evolved, if you will, to live at that altitude.
Man. So Machu Picchu is about 8,000 feet above sea level. So where I was with that house, that was 10,000 feet above sea level. Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, now I've been
Higher.
up in those places though, because I've gone up in the Rockies, so I've gone higher. I mean, someone had mentioned Vail, and like I used to go to Vail every year with my church for their little outing thing for a week, and it's never really affected me because I'm already kind of used to it, but I have noticed a little bit of a difference because I haven't gone up that high in several years. So when my husband and I took like an anniversary trip up to a B&B way up in the mountains, I actually got a little like not okay. Like I started having heart palpitations and like my head was pounding and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm a native. This should not be a thing. But it just, for some reason, it just hit me weird. I haven't had that experience since, but it was just very strange.
Yeah. See, I grew up in Vermont and the highest altitude mountain in Vermont was 5,000 feet. And it's not like you're up there like all the time. So it's like, that was like a special occasion when you went and hiked Mount Mansfield or whatever. But yeah, it was crazy.
Than most of the other well-known ancient sites in Peru.
Oh, thicker.
Part of the charm of this place comes from the fact that it was built in the more tropical jungle ecosystem that really can't exist in the higher areas of the Andes mountain range. The ancient and megalithic city of Cusco itself is around 11,200 feet in elevation, or roughly 3,400 meters far above Machu Picchu, and many of the other popular sites in this region are at even higher elevations, past 12 and 13,000 feet. So if you're visiting this region sometime and you're struggling with the altitude, you might actually find the scenic train ride and a day at Machu Picchu under 10,000 feet to be a welcome relief from the mild altitude sickness that so many people tend to experience after they land in Cusco. It's really easy to understand why Machu Picchu is such a well-known ancient site. I mean, just take a look at it. They should put an image of this place next to the word picturesque in the dictionary.
Yeah, real.
No doubt.
Machu Picchu's fame and beauty also mean that it's on damn near every tourist's must-see list. And the reality of this will not be lost on you should you also choose to visit the site someday. I do have to say that selfie sticks are a plague, people.
Yeah.
Today,
real.
it's the busiest tourist attraction in Peru, with around 1 million people churning through it every year. It really is understandable why they come, though, and although you'll need to brave these hordes in order to see it for yourself, it's absolutely worth doing at least once. I've made the trip out to Machu Picchu a couple of times, and I definitely plan to visit the site again in the future. With enough planning and forethought, it's possible to manage the day such that you avoid the worst of the congestion, and there are several quiet spots along the various trails and passages where you can really soak in the experience without being jostled by other people. From an architectural perspective, Machu Picchu displays some truly remarkable megalithic granite construction, particularly in its core, and this is work that rivals some of the best that you'll see anywhere else in Peru. Precisely fitted together and featuring some very large blocks, the megalithic core of this site is surrounded by buildings of what you could only describe as a much rougher form of masonry style. Around the small city itself, you will also see the iconic Inca terracing system, and this is something that's pervasive throughout the Sacred Valley. It's been used to terraform many of the steep slopes of the area. Machu Picchu was first brought to the world's attention by American explorer Hiram Bingham in 1911. He was led to the site by locals who knew about it and were living nearby. At the time, Bingham was searching for lost Inca cities, and I think this is an objective he most certainly met with this particular expedition. Although Hiram Bingham's name is now forever attached to Machu Picchu, we should acknowledge that he certainly wasn't the first person in recent centuries to find it. There were actually local Peruvian farmers living on the site and several others living close by to it.
Oh, wow.
Bingham wasn't even the first explorer who was looking for ancient ruins to run across Machu Picchu. One of his photos shows an inscription on a block that was supposedly left by Peruvian explorer Agustin Lizarraga in 1902, which is nearly 10 years prior to Bingham's discovery. Preceding both of these early explorers, there are reports from other missionaries and other explorers from the previous century who claim to have seen the site. And interestingly, there is some proof of this. You can find Machu Picchu along with the nearby peak of Huayna Picchu actually shown on a German map that dates back to 1874. So although we cannot truly say that Hiram Bingham discovered Machu Picchu, he should be credited with the first scientific exploration and the significant documentation of the site. His efforts and those of his team that were spent over months of hard laboring in order to clear and then photograph the site, as well as the effort he spent excavating it, looking for artifacts, this is what really first propelled Machu Picchu towards becoming the globally famous location that it is now. It was the work of Hiram Bingham that cleared the way for further efforts in the future to both continue to uncover and then restore Machu Picchu. Contrary to what seems to be popular belief, Bingham was also quite aware that he wasn't the first visitor to the site. And this is a short quote from Bingham's book, In the Wonderland of Peru. And in this he notes, quote, "I could not help being reminded of the fact that we had spent 2 days of one workman's time in erasing from the beautiful granite walls the crude charcoal autographs of visiting Peruvians, one of whom had taken the pains to scrawl in huge letters his name in 33 places in the principal and most attractive buildings." End quote. I think it's human nature to write our names on things and to claim them at some point. And I think this is a point that I may have made in a few of my Egyptian
Even if it's
videos.
a bathroom stall.
Here is a brief clip from an excellent guide who was working with us on a trip to Peru in 2013. His name is Rogelio, and he's describing Bingham's quest to find the lost ruins of the Inca.
So according to the history, so Hiram Bingham, who was a professor in the Yale University, who was really passionate about the Libertador Simón Bolívar, who make a liberty about so many countries like Peru, Bolivia, Venezuela places. He was really passionate about this. But when he came to Peru, he just found another beautiful and really interesting histories about the Incas, the oldest culture here. So that's why he was really passionate. So he took the Incas like our first focus in this place, in Peru. In that time, imagine there were places like Vilcabamba, the last refuge of the Incas, which one it was still undiscovered. And this Machu Picchu, or this place, nobody knows about this place until this time. So first of all, Hiram Bingham started from Cusco, taking the sacred valley of the Incas. He was looking for Vilcabamba. He focused in that place. So where is Vilcabamba? Taking from here train, and after this bus, take at least 8 hours to get Vilcabamba. And Vilcabamba, by the way, it was the last refuge of the Incas, where after the war between Incas and Spanish started, most of the Incas just ran away until this place, and they create Vilcabamba as a last refuge or last capital of the Incas. So in that time, he was looking for Vilcabamba again. So nobody knows about Machu Picchu until this time. So when Hiram Bingham took the valley, or the valley sites, just walking around and try to explore where is the town Aguas Calientes down there, he found at least 7 or 10 families already living there. So most of these families were only farmer people. Now it's a city, a little town there. So long time ago, 1911, it was total countryside still. So when he arrived to these areas, so he started to ask for the locals, where is the Inca site around this mountain? And the locals answered him, Ajay Machu Picchu. What has been that? Up there in this old mountain. Actually, these locals pointing the mountain that you can see in the top side, up there. So is the name, the original name of this mountain that already this Inca site or this archaeological site has, Machu Picchu. according to his book, he took like 9 hours from the bottom of the valley to access finally this place. Why? Because in that time there was no bridge. They have to make their own bridge. And after this, carry the vegetation just to make their paths. Why? Because the original Inca trail, you can see the narrow lines up
come
there.
on. They went up that
It was the
mountain.
big connection to get Cusco.
No.
Nowadays there is
Oh, no.
a nice Inca trail made for 4 days, roughly. But that start from my hometown only. Long time ago in the Inca's time, all the trails start from Cusco, which one it was the capital of the Incas, Cusco. Yeah. So that's actually the big connection of that. Yeah.
You know what, though?
Hang
When
on.
he arrived here after.
Go ahead.
Say what you want about colonizers and shit like that, but if it weren't for crazy white men, most of these sites would have either gone undiscovered or unexcavated.
Yeah.
There's all like British and Americans that were like going around the world going, oh my God, ancient rock, start digging. You know, now we have all these tourist attractions and amazing pieces of history that we've learned. I mean, come on.
The locals all knew it was there. Like, he got to that town and he was like, where's the Incan site? The locals were like, up there.
Yeah,
up
but
there.
they didn't do anything about it. They're just letting it
Well,
get by the
but-
jungle.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like they all knew it was there. They didn't make it a tourist attraction.
Well, they did when they realized they could make money off of it.
Yeah.
8 hours. So all this area where we are now with a lot of terraces, it was already cleaned up. Why? Because he found in the first time.
Like, I think the
already
thing
3
that's like,
families living.
I think the thing I like that they're showing the video of the actual like guides at Machu Picchu, because like I think one of the things you can't get in pictures is just how huge this stuff is, because it's kind of like you're seeing a picture, it just looks a little bit different, but when you actually see like people with these giant ass mountains in the background, it's just like everything is huge
proportion. Yeah.
In this place. So these families, according to the history, according what he said in his book, Hiram Bingham, he said that these people were no locals from here. They just ran away because in the years 80s or in the 18th centuries, we have a big war between Peru and Chile. That's why many people just run away, because they don't like to fight. So probably these 3 families just arrived here and they decide to live here. And these people using these terraces as a farming places. Yeah, where they grow here coffee, they grow passion fruit, also coca leaves as well, and also sweet potatoes.
They chew on cocoa leaves all the time.
So where is
well,
this
that's how they knew what
buildings
to make
with a
cocaine
thatch
out of.
roof already rebuilt? The unique thing, the unique original
In its
thing
natural state, it's a
is the wall.
powerful
But the
it's
roofs
like caffeine, right? Like
Oh,
in its
yeah.
natural state, it's just like caffeine, and
They
it's
gave it.
like,
Go ahead.
isn't it like also like a vasoconstrictor, so it helps with pain and things like that?
Yeah, it has a lot of
Swelling.
medicinal qualities. They were like, they gave it to us all the time. We had like bags of that shit like around, but like people were chewing on it all the time. I didn't like it that much, so I didn't do like a ton of it, but there were people that were just like munching on those
Yeah.
leaves.
It's when they refined it that it turned into a drug, and then something that's quite bad, actually.
are the same copy that the Incas made a long time ago. Actually, all this city was totally covered by this thatch roof in that time. Yeah. So all these 3 families used to live in these buildings.
I have
They
this
just
fucking.
farming.
There's a fly that is driving me crazy that has been in my house for like 3 days, and it just keeps flying around and zooming around at the most inopportune times. And it's been twice tonight where it's sat on something right in front of me, and I was so close to whacking it. Like, it was on my bathroom mirror earlier, and I was like so close to whacking it, but I almost hit my light, and I was like, I'm not breaking my light for you, fly. But it just sat on my computer monitor. I was like, and it flew away.
Oh no! Well, it's almost dead. They don't live that long.
Yeah.
Here, but look,
It's having a great time though, man. It's like, yeah, you can't get me.
Urban sector also. So all these buildings over there, until that time, it was still covered by vegetation.
Some of you might have recognized Brian Forrester in that clip, and we'll hear a little more from Brian later on in this video. Before we get into Hiram Bingham's account of the astonishing things that he found here, it's worth setting up just a little bit of context, as throughout this video, we'll be seeing imagery of the architecture that's here in Machu Picchu from both a century ago as well as video from modern times. As we go through this, I want you to notice the different styles of architecture that you can see, as this is a key point in the mystery of South American history. I'm going to reference Jesus Gamarra's system for identifying the 3 styles of architecture one can find in Peru. Jesus is an author and a researcher whom I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times. If you don't know what this system is, I'd highly recommend watching one of my videos called Why the Megalithic Architecture of Peru is Older Than the Inca, as it gives a lot of background to the history of this region, and it goes into these 3 architectural styles in significant detail. A link to that video is in the description box below. As a brief summary, these 3 styles begin with something called Hanan Pacha, which is the oldest style. It's categorized by the monolithic nature of the work. It's the shapes and carvings that are made into the living rock of the mountainside itself. This is generally found on the bottom layers of architecture, and it visually appears to be the oldest form of work. Quite often you'll see it surrounded by or built upon with the later styles, somehow as if it was revered or respected, and the later builders were trying to protect this work. This older style is then often followed by something called Urun Pacha, which is really the classic megalithic style. This is the cellular polygonal masonry generally made up of very large and very precisely fitted stones, like those at Sacsayhuaman or in the streets of Cusco, or as you'll see here at Machu Picchu. This work is usually of a uniform stone type, and that stone type has quite often been transported significant distances to the site. In many places, Urun Pacha tends to be on top of or surrounding that monolithic older Hanan Pacha work. The last style is known as Ucan Pacha, or what you would call the Incan style, the Inca style. This is the loose rock walls, the rough masonry work, the typically not very precise but functional buildings that you'll see patched together, sometimes used with mud mortar and those types of things. The majority of the buildings at Machu Picchu are Ucan Pacha. I think the majority of the work here was done by the Inca, but not the megalithic core. And interestingly enough, I think most of these Ucan Pacha buildings were covered over with mud mortar. In today's times, there's not much of this mud mortar remaining, but as you can see from this photo, Hiram Bingham found that some of these walls still had their mud mortar coverings. I think most of this has fallen away now due to erosion and rain and moisture. You'll often find all 3 of these styles on Peruvian sites, and in fact, you see all 3 of these styles here at Machu Picchu. In general, the rough Inca work is found on top of the other styles. It's quite obviously of a vastly less technologically demanding nature. To me, it seems clear that the relatively primitive Inca used this style to repair.
So that kind of like goes along with your theory that someone else put those big rocks there.
Well, and it goes even further back than that, because there's 3 styles. So we've got the Incan loose stone there that probably had some clay over it. Then you've got the kind of the molded stone, and then there's the megalithic carved out stone. So there was a civilization or technology even before this molded stone, which we saw on the other site on Sacsayhuaman. So I mean, it goes back, man. There's shit that's been around on this planet that we have no clue about, and in fact, there's theories and things about governments covering up any further research. One of the ways they do that is by turning them into tourist sites. And
isn't that sneaky?
And I just found out by what was it the Graham Hancock? If we watch his thing, he was talking about how in Turkey, where Göbekli Tepe is, they've shut down our further archaeology.
Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah.
And not only that, they had planted trees over to cover the other sites. And so there's been a huge uproar in the archaeological society, because they're going to ruin the stones with tree roots if they do that. But that's kind of the point. It's like they want to hide it. And it makes you go, why? Why would you want to hide this? Why is it so threatening that there were older civilizations? Why does that hurt you?
Yeah.
But then
why assholes?
Yeah, maybe it's not them that it's hurting. Maybe it's the lizard people who are in control. They don't want us to know.
Fucking lizard people. Always
Damn
comes
it.
back to them.
Absolutely.
And to rebuild the older megalithic work. So now we'll return back to our story with Hiram Bingham, but I wanted to provide that little bit of context to just keep in mind as we look at this imagery. The tale of Bingham's journey and his discovery of Machu Picchu is written in quite an entertaining fashion in his book titled In the Wonderland of Peru. This was first published in 1913, and his story is one of what I can only call real adventure, of a type that's pretty much unavailable to people in today's times. He talks of harrowing river crossings, treacherous mountain climbs, and narrow escapes from both injury and death. Here is how Bingham described the day that he first discovered Machu Picchu. Quote, "Leaving camp soon after breakfast, I joined the guide, and accompanied by a soldier that had been kindly loaned me by the Peruvian government, plunged through the jungle to the riverbank and came to a shaky little bridge made of 4 tree trunks bound together with vines and stretched across a stream only a few inches above the roaring rapids. On the other side, we had a hard climb, first through the jungle and later up a very stiff, almost precipitous slope. About noon, we reached a little grass hut where a good-natured Indian family who had been living here for 3 or 4 years gave us welcome and set before us gourds full of cool, delicious water and a few cold, boiled sweet potatoes. Apart from another hut in the vicinity and a few stone-faced terraces, there seemed to be little in the way of ruins, and I began to think that my time had been wasted. However, the view was magnificent, the water was delicious, and the shade of the hut most agreeable. So we rested a while and then went on to the top of the ridge. On all sides of us rose the magnificent peaks of the Urubamba Canyon, while 2,000 feet below us the rushing waters of the noisy river, making a great turn, defended 3 sides of the ridge, on top of which we were hunting for ruins. On the west side of the ridge, the 3 Indian families who had chosen this eagle's nest for their home had built a little path, part of which consisted of crude ladders of vines and tree trunks tied to the face of the precipice. Presently, we found ourselves in the midst of a tropical forest, beneath the shade of whose trees we could make out a maze of ancient walls, the ruins of buildings made of blocks of granite, some of which were beautifully fitted together in the most refined style of Inca architecture. A few rods farther along, we came to a little open space on which were 2 splendid temples or palaces. The superior character of the stonework, the presence of these splendid edifices, and of what appeared to be an unusually large number of finely constructed stone dwellings, led me to believe that Machu Picchu might prove to be the largest and most important ruin discovered in South America since the days of the Spanish conquest." End quote. So as soon as he saw the megalithic construction of Machu Picchu, Bingham immediately thought that he was really onto something here, and how right he was. He left 2 of his men there to map out their discovery as best they could over a period of some 3 weeks, and Bingham vowed to return with a larger expedition and more supplies for an extended stay. In our modern times, there is a well-cut, if somewhat narrow road that leads up the more than 2,000 vertical feet from the town of Aguascalientes that sits in the valley down at the river up to the site at the top of the mountain. This is the road by which dozens of busloads of tourists ascend to Machu Picchu each day in relative ease.
Yeah.
The only price being
Exactly.
really some white
Oh my
knuckles
God.
as the
Like, this
apparently
is a great
fearless drivers
idea.
race up the switchbacks with their steep drop-offs over the edge. In Bingham's time, however, there were no such conveniences.
Right.
He and his crew had to
Well,
quite
there's no way
literally
they
cut their
loaded
way
those
through the
stones
jungle.
on those paths. No freaking way.
No, there's no way.
And carve steps and
It's
switchbacks.
steep, man. It's not. It might not look. This is a fucking steep ass mountain.
It's straight up, dude. Look at the power.
To the
Those switchbacks are like extra.
Yeah.
Steep slopes, such that their human porters could transport their supplies up to the site. This trail was far too rough and steep for mules, and initially it was too rough even for the porters, and it took them several days to cut in a trail for them. Here, Bingham describes some of the fun that he had trying to create this route up the hill. Quote, "There were many places which were almost vertical, in which we had to cut steps. Up these places we now made zigzags, so that there was comparatively little difficulty in climbing. On the first day, I had set fire to the cane in order to clear the trail. This fire did not clear much, however. On the second day, I was about a quarter of a mile behind the workmen, or rather above them, when suddenly Tomas, the Peruvian soldier mentioned above, who was with me, said, "Look, they have fired the cane." Sure enough, they had started it, and in a minute it had gained headway and was roaring up towards us, the flames reaching 15 or 20 feet into the air. There was nothing for us but to run, and we did that, tearing through the jungle downhill in an effort to get around the side of the fire. Suddenly, on one of my jumps, I didn't stop when I expected to, but kept right on through the air. The brush had masked a nice little 8-foot jump off, and I got beautifully bumped. In a minute, there came a thump, and Tomas landed beside me.
Beautifully bumped.
It amused me so much to watch him that I forgot all about my own jolted bones. There was nothing broken, however, and we made our way without much more trouble around the fire and fell upon the peons, who were gathered in a bunch, speculating as to where we might be. End quote. Along with cutting in the trail to Machu Picchu, Bingham also had to rebuild the bridge that was crossing the Urubamba River,
Right,
as the bridge he'd
giant-ass
used
river.
in the previous year had been destroyed in the seasonal flooding. He dedicates a couple of pages in his book to the difficult task of rebuilding this bridge, such that his porters, who had to carry things like 60-pound boxes of food, could cross the river. In fact, at other rivers and other crossings on his expedition, he had to use barges and actually
This doggy
swim
looks like he
his
doesn't
mules
want to go
across the river.
anywhere.
He's like,
Screw you
keep
guys.
I want to
fucking
mention these river
insane.
crossings for a specific reason,
Like the
and that
donkey's
is
swimming.
to reinforce the
Oh,
just
God.
immense
Donkey's like, "Fuck
difficulty
you,
in
assholes."
moving heavy loads across terrain, the likes of which you find in the Andes mountain range.
Making me swim.
It's one of the
Right.
reasons why I find these megalithic works in many of these places
This
to
is
be
not in
just
my
so utterly
contract.
astonishing.
Yeah.
The stones that make up part of the core masonry on these sites has been transported several kilometers or more, and we know in a lot of cases where their quarries are, and it's across very difficult terrain that these stones have been moved in order to put them into the places that we find them today. Alante Tambo is perhaps the best example of this. These huge granite blocks that make up the megalithic core of the site, they're found today on the top of what is a very steep mountain, and they weigh around 50 tons, some of them up to 80 tons each.
Wow.
The
Yeah.
quarry for these
That did
stones
not go anywhere
lies far
on
up
that
on
trail.
the high slopes of a neighboring mountain, and you can see Graham Hancock pointing to the
See
quarry
how far away
for
the
these
quarry
stones
is?
in this image.
Oh, yeah.
These blocks had to first be quarried out of the ground, then moved down what is a really steep hill, transported across a rapid and very dangerous river, and then lifted up another very steep mountain to the top and installed in place. It's quite an achievement. There's
Crazy.
even a huge stone from this granite quarry that's been left on the road down from Alante Tambo.
Wow.
Or rather, a better way of saying it is that the road was actually built around this stone, because we certainly weren't moving it.
They
for a
couldn't
road.
move it.
So you can contrast this to the fact that only
Proof.
100 years ago, in Hiram Bingham's time, we found it quite difficult to cross the very same rivers with 60-pound loads on our backs. It certainly adds a little perspective to this when you see this type of work in the Andes mountain range, at least for me. So once he had his camp established at Machu Picchu, Bingham first had to clear back centuries of growth from the structures, which, as you can see from these images, wasn't the easiest task.
So much work. I don't even
Quote,
like weeding my garden.
although the buildings
know.
are extremely well built, there is no cement or mortar in the masonry, and there is no means of preventing the roots of forest trees from penetrating the walls and eventually tearing them all down. In several cases, we found gigantic trees perched on the very tips of the gabled ends of these small and beautifully constructed houses. It was not the least difficult part of our work to cut down and get such trees out of the way without seriously damaging the house walls. End quote. After this clearing effort, he excavated several areas of Machu Picchu, and he also searched for human burials in nearby caves. After some 4 months of effort, Bingham had found what was ultimately several skeletons and about 200 small pieces of bronze, as well as several jars and a whole bunch of potsherds. In terms of architecture, what Bingham found after this clearing effort was really truly astonishing. He had revealed several megalithic masterpieces underneath these centuries of jungle growth. He was pretty clearly very impressed with both the location of the site and the quality of the megalithic masonry. Here is how he summarized his initial impression of Machu Picchu after these months spent clearing the site. Quote, "An ideal place of refuge. Although it is too early to speak definitely in regard to the civilization of Machu Picchu, a short description of the principal characteristics of the city may not be out of place. Machu Picchu is essentially a city of refuge. It is perched on a mountaintop in the most inaccessible corner of the most inaccessible section of the Urubamba River. So far as I know, there is no part of the Andes that has been better defended by nature. A stupendous canyon, where the principal rock is granite and where the precipices are frequently over 1,000 feet sheer, presents difficulties of attack and facilities for defense second to none. Here, on a narrow ridge, flanked on all sides by precipitous or nearly precipitous slopes, a highly civilized people, artistic, inventive, and capable of sustained endeavor, at some time in the remote past built themselves a city of refuge. Since they had no iron or steel tools, only stone hammers, its construction must have cost many generations, if not centuries, of effort." End quote. Bingham's impression of how long it might have taken to build Machu Picchu is an important thing to keep in mind, particularly as we're now turning to an investigation of how we date and relate Machu Picchu in our modern times. If you do visit here, chances are that the guide will tell you that the Inca built all of it. Doing a basic internet search for the origins of Machu Picchu, you'll also see it confidently asserted that the Inca were responsible for all of these megalithic remains. The truth, however, is far less certain, and I'd say that although we definitely do know that the Inca lived here and that they worked on the site, we don't really know its true origins, and we don't know who built the megalithic core of Machu Picchu. And in fact, there is some strong evidence that suggests that parts of this site could be far older than the Inca civilization itself. Almost all the records of what the Inca said or what they had possibly recorded in terms of artwork and pictographs, all of that has been lost as a result of the conquest by the Spanish. Any clues, accounts, artwork, or depictions of their history fell victim to the wanton and zealous destruction that was carried out by the conquistadors. This destruction was applied vigorously to anything that was contrary to the Christian culture and the religion that they brought with them to South America. The dominant religion today in South America is overwhelmingly Christian and particularly Roman Catholic, and this is more or less as a direct result of this so-called conquest. And we really have very little clues as to the actual history of the region before this time. However, rather than acknowledging this lack of data and this historical mystery, in general, mainstream historical opinion attributes all of the ancient and megalithic sites in the high Andes to the Inca. From what little we know, this civilization began somewhere in the 1200s. It only really got started in the 1400s with Pachacuti, the first real ruler of the empire, and then it was abruptly ended, only around 150 years later with the destruction of the last Inca stronghold by the Spanish in 1572. These dates and the short time frame of the Inca is important to remember when you look at all of these sites in Peru. At its peak, the Inca civilization only lasted around 150 years, and it's during these times that they are thought to have built all of the great sites that we can see, including Machu Picchu. The Inca were, by most accounts at least, a relatively primitive agricultural society. They had a low technological capability. They had no access to iron or steel tools, and they lived without a practical knowledge of the wheel, and indeed they're thought to have lived without even a known form of writing. Yet for all their primitive capabilities and the short duration of the civilization, many of these so-called Inca sites, including Machu Picchu, show some utterly remarkable architectural features. The vast majority of the tour guides here will tell you that all of the architecture is Inca work, that there is no difference in technological levels shown in this work, and that it was all created by the same people at the same time. The same goes for Wikipedia and other mainstream sources. They will also assert that the Inca created these sites. In the case of Machu Picchu, Wikipedia unambiguously reports that, quote, Machu Picchu was built starting 1450 to 1460, end quote. Most Orthodox sources state that it was built as a refuge for Pachacuti. It's also thought that the site was abandoned by the Inca and well before the Spanish ever arrived. What are they referencing with this claim? Well, let's follow the trail. The reference points to an archaeological textbook called Machu Picchu, Unveiling the Mystery of the Incas. This book is available online, so let's see what it says. Edited by Richard L. Berger, professor of anthropology at Yale, and Lucy C. Salazar, who works, or at least did work, in his department in 2004 when this book was published. The authors use softer language than Wikipedia, but they still assert that, quote, the area had only been lightly settled before the Inca conquest, and it seems reasonable to suggest that Machu Picchu, built sometime between 1450 and 1470, had been in use for only some 80 years when Tahuantinsuyu crumbled and the site was abandoned. End quote. So, according to the authors, Machu Picchu was built, used, and then abandoned in all around 80 years. Remember that Bingham thought it might have taken many generations or perhaps even centuries to build this site. I think this only highlights the fact that when it comes to the ancient history of South America, we really don't have much to go on. And perhaps we'd be better off admitting that there's some real mystery here, instead of making assertions based on very little evidence. Still, this is really only an assertion. Remember that with Egypt, with Rome and Greece, and many of the other ancient civilizations, we have written records from historians and chroniclers who lived during those times, and that helps us to date events and locations. We also have the fact that many of these civilizations mixed with each other. The Greeks and the Egyptians mixed, the Greeks and the Romans mixed. So it's possible to cross-check and to verify dates when you have multiple sources. Now, none of this exists when it comes to South America. We don't have the records of contemporary historians to go on, and we certainly don't have any accounts of mixing with other civilizations, at least anyone before the Spanish. So what is behind this assertion and this dating for Machu Picchu? Well, the assertion of this site's construction date is really only based on one thing, the style of the ceramic pottery that was discovered here by Hiram Bingham. Quoting further from the same textbook, quote, Roth's hypothesis that Machu Picchu was founded by Pachacuti is consistent with our preliminary ceramic analysis, indicating the absence of Quilque, Lucre, and the other ceramic pottery styles immediately antecedent to the imperial Cusco style of Inca pottery. End quote. I want to be clear here. All this passage indicates is that the Inca did in fact live here, likely beginning in the period around 1450 to 1470, as the pottery matches that found on other Inca sites from that period. Or rather, they didn't find any pottery that comes from the period before these dates. Now, I'm not disputing any of that. I'm quite sure it's correct, and that the Inca were in fact on this site in those times.
It doesn't mean they built
However,
it.
this analysis says nothing about the architecture of the site, nor the age of the original construction.
This is the thing with all of this stuff, man. All this information, it's like you literally can't trust anything you read anywhere. You have to read the footnotes for everything, and then you have to go and look at the footnotes. Does it actually say that thing? And then you have to read the footnotes in that thing. Oh, did that actually say the thing? And it's like you always find out when you just backtrack. It's like, no, that didn't actually say that at all. No, that's not what it said, asshole.
And also look at all the different points of view. There's, mainstream archaeology is all about everything happened when we say it did, not necessarily when the dating is confirmed. Because people like Graham Hancock and a lot of other guys have been going through and dating these sites for tens of thousands of years before, so that, like I said, it all goes back to the Younger Dryas era. And they're proving it, and they are being ignored. They're being mocked. They're being blocked out, canceled. That's the word. Yeah.
Well, that seems to be what happens anytime you're studying anything and you actually want to know the truth, and you're actually like, no, we're actually going to do this pragmatically. We're not just going to take your word for it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, everyone's calling you names and smearing you and like poo-pooing what you're doing, but they didn't do it.
They didn't do the research. Nope. Well, but Wikipedia says that. Okay. Wikipedia is not a value, not a good source for things, because a lot of that stuff in there is not confirmed.
It's like every time someone comes in my chat and they're like, well, Karlyn, what you don't understand about socialism is B. And then I go, oh yeah, how does the left define capitalism? And they go, well, it really depends for a reason. It's like, nope, wrong. You don't know anything. Goodbye. But it's just it's a good lesson to people. It's like literally almost everyone who's pretending to be an expert about something, they don't know shit. they actually probably haven't done research. Maybe they read a book one time or they saw a YouTube video and they're just really good bullshitters. And they think if they just speak with confidence, you're going to believe them. Or maybe they've even convinced themselves they're some kind of expert because they watched a podcast one time. And it's just like, no, you mostly don't know anything about anything.
Well, and even in the sciences, these are people who have been taught by people who are taught by people who are taught by people who are taught, who just go along with academia, and they're not challenging anything. And if you don't challenge things, sometimes you never get to the actual truth. You can't just go along with what has always been said, because who writes the history? The victors do. Mm-hmm. And if they need us to think a certain thing, that's what they're going to say. This is what we go by. This is what we believe. This is the truth. Tell everybody, tell all your friends, tell all your students. And then they always hit the rebels, don't they? They always come at you with, you're stupid, you're a ancient alien person, you're ridiculous.
You're a conspiracy theorist. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
The conclusion that the Inca built everything is confidently stated as established fact, both for Machu Picchu and all of the other megalithic sites in Peru. I think that the real answer to this question today should be, we just don't know for sure. But as long as we're speculating, is it not also just as possible that instead of building the megalithic core of Machu Picchu, the Inca found it, they worked on it, and they repaired it with their primitive architectural style of stacking loose rocks? I have not seen anything that rules this possibility out. However, what about the Inca themselves? What did they say? Even with the lack of historical records and the destruction that was wrought by the Spanish, there must be some indication of their history, and it turns out that there is. While I was researching this video, I came across a passage in Hiram Bingham's book that quite literally left me sitting stunned in my chair for a few seconds. Quoting again from Bingham's book, The Wonderland of Peru, and here he is writing about the origins of the Inca. Quote, "An ancient Inca tradition. A story told to some of the early Spanish chroniclers in regard to that distant historical event runs somewhat as follows. Thousands of years ago, there lived in the highlands of Peru a megalithic folk who developed a remarkable civilization and who left, as architectural records, such cyclopean structures as the fortresses of Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo. These people were attacked by barbarian hordes coming from the south, possibly from the Argentine Pampas. They were defeated and fled into one of the most inaccessible Andean canyons. Here, in a region strongly defended by nature, they established themselves. Here, their descendants lived for several centuries. The chief place was called Tampu Tocco, eventually regaining their military strength and becoming crowded in this mountainous valley. They left Tampu Tocco and, under the leadership of 3 brothers, went out of 3 windows or caves and started for Cusco. The migration was slow and deliberate. They eventually reached Cusco, and there they established the Inca kingdom, which throughout several centuries spread by conquest over the entire plateau, and even as far south as Chile and as far north as Ecuador. This Inca empire had reached its height when the Spaniards came. The Spaniards were told that Tampu Tocco was at a place called Pacaritampu, a small village a day's journey southwest of Cusco and in the Apurimac Valley. The chroniclers duly noted this location, and it has been taken for granted ever since that Tampu Tocco was at Paricatampu." End quote. And I'm sure I just assassinated some of the pronunciation of those words, so please forgive me. Now, there is a lot to unpack in this quote, but let's first start with the timeline, which seems much longer than that suggested by our Orthodox experts today. First, we have, quote, "Thousands of years ago, there lived in the highlands of Peru a megalithic folk who developed a remarkable civilization," end quote. This is already going back further than what we think of in terms of the civilizations of South America, of which the Inca were one and only several hundred years ago from today. After this time, the story talks of centuries of time where they supposedly retreated into the highlands, and then centuries more as their descendants slowly migrated toward Cusco. They eventually rose to become the Inca civilization as we know it, sometimes presumably in the 15th century. Note that this story deliberately attributes the mighty megalithic work of places like Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo not to the Inca, but to this remarkable megalithic civilization. Finding this story, one that stretches the history of the region back millennia, in an account that is now more than 100 years old, I think is quite remarkable. And this is because it really wasn't considered to be possible.
I just want to say, let this be a lesson to everyone. You've got to write things down. You've got to write books. You've got to write stories. These things will matter at some point in history. I promise you. Even if you don't sell many copies of your books when you're alive, like history remembers these things, and people go back and read these crazy books that no one was like, oh, that crazy person wrote a book. Well, yeah, that crazy person's book is going to influence history. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and also I wanted to, since you're pausing, when
Yeah.
they were talking about the the amazing megalithic culture or this advanced culture, the reason I wanted you to watch the Sacsayhuaman video first was because it shows the same kind of rock architecture as being used up here in Machu Picchu. There was a massive, and you'll find that all over South America, that same style. There was a massive culture with advanced technology enough to soften limestone without making it brittle and mold it into place. I mean, it was all over South America. So, and especially Peru, but it's like, that's kind of why I wanted to kind of go through these videos in this order.
Peru also has like the Nazca lines, don't they? Which is where they say they found aliens and things like that.
Well, they found what they call, there's a formation called the Spaceman, and he looks like he's wearing a helmet and he's waving. And yeah, I love the Nazca. There's tons of different kinds. And did you see the people that went to try and restore it, or they went to protest something or whatever, and they ruined one of them?
I did hear about that.
Oh,
yeah,
idiots.
We should do a show on the Nazca line sometime for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, there's so many ancient sites, and we could do several for a while. Yeah,
do a whole we can do our own ancient aliens series.
There you go. Yeah, totally.
Like, and people the other thing too is like Machu Picchu is a ways away from Cusco. It's not close. They're talking about, it's all in the Sacred Valley, and it kind of gives you an impression that they're not close at all.
The Sacred Valley is like hundreds of miles long.
Yeah.
In terms of human civilizations by the explorers or archaeologists of the time. Although this account is essentially hearsay, Bingham didn't have anything to gain by misreporting or by making this up, and he didn't seem to believe this origin story any more literally than our modern archaeologists do. Not through any fault of his own, he just wasn't working with the same set of evidence that today makes this tale just so much more plausible. Whether it was Bingham in Peru or Flinders Petrie in Egypt, at the turn of the 20th century, they simply didn't have the data or the context to frame this idea of vastly ancient and high technology civilizations as being even remotely possible. It's only in our modern era, in the last couple of decades, that we have gained both the perspective and the scientific understanding of our history that this becomes a plausible interpretation of that history. In Bingham's day, there was no understanding of the true age of the human species, which we now know stretches back at least 300,000 years and possibly longer. There was no concept of the complexity of our genetic past, with recent DNA studies indicating widespread contact between peoples, as well as migratory travel across oceans at some point deep in antiquity. Other than the biblical cataclysm, which many of the early scientists tried to distance themselves from back at the turn of the 20th century, they certainly didn't know about the Younger Dryas period, the cataclysmic events of some only 12,800 years ago that literally changed the surface of the Earth and killed off the Northern Hemisphere megafauna. This also caused a massive disruption to human populations, as shown by a modern analysis of male DNA. It's this same set of modern evidence that many of our mainstream archaeologists are pretty much just ignoring or dismissing as irrelevant. And they do this mostly because it comes from an adjacent field of science. However, I think the reckoning on this is coming, and soon they will simply not be able to just continue to ignore or dismiss all of these new discoveries, as the evidence for the Younger Dryas in particular is becoming what I would now start to call overwhelming.
Yep.
Even skeptics like Michael Shermer are beginning to change their tune, and several high-profile archaeological scholars are starting to come around to the idea that perhaps history as we know it is but the latest chapter of a much longer story. In the context of these modern discoveries, this account of the Inca's own history, which was passed through oral tales that eventually made it to Hiram Bingham's ears and then he wrote down into his book, I think this deserves much more recognition and more investigation. Whether our mainstream archaeologists like it or not, the Younger Dryas and the scientific work going into the origins of our species does have a significant impact on their precious story of history. A story which, as any open-minded researcher would know, has always had its issues. Issues like trying to credit all forms of ancient architecture in Peru to the Inca, despite the obvious disparities in styles, and this is something that is blindingly obvious to anyone that just stops for a minute and thinks about what they're looking at. In fact, Bingham acknowledged that these were obviously different forms of architecture, as shown by this image of Rumikola, which reads, quote, "A nearer view of Rumikola shows the junction of two entirely different kinds of stonework. The original wall is of rough stones laid in mud, but the gateway is lined with cut stones fitted together without mortar after the best Inca style. It may be possible that a later race cut a gate through the ancient aqueduct and lined it in their own fashion with their best stonework." End quote. Personally, I think it's much more likely that this megalithic construction was done in the very distant past, as suggested by the Inca origin story. I think that most of it was destroyed in some form of cataclysm, perhaps even the Younger Dryas, but there are certainly other contenders that happened on other dates. I think that the Inca rebuilt what they could, they repaired what they could, and they reused the megalithic stone in their own constructions when they couldn't find the original locations for these stones. Often you'll see megalithic stones used as lintels in doorways or inserted just here and there into those rough stone walls that the Inca clearly made. Here's author and researcher Brian Forrester explaining how this process might have worked.
Well, this is a prime example of that. That's recycling by the Inca. The Inca used exclusively andesite because this whole area is andesite. Because the Inca's role was to build buildings out of what was available. So they recycled some of the damaged structures from the early megalithic builders. What's intriguing about the Inca is that they appear to have been incredibly respectful of whoever it was that first built Cusco. They seemingly would never touch any of the surfaces and remove something. But if something was on the ground, it's like, well, we don't know where that goes, so let's use it to build something around it or to enhance what's already been here. Ollantaytambo, Machu Picchu, Sacsayhuaman being very classic examples of that. But the megalithic builders would go as far as was required, which is a similar thing we find in Egypt. They had to have stone that either had a high quartz crystal content or iron content. So the basalt, which is what this is, possibly, comes from one quarry 50 kilometers in that direction. And then there's the limestone, which Sacsayhuaman, which is right here. And its quarry is about 10 to 15 kilometers in that direction. And there are other quarries too, of great distance. And the important thing for the megalithic builders was any structure could only be constructed out of stone from one quarry. They never mixed the stone. It all had to be the same quality because of the characteristics that they were after, which is almost science fiction.
So what can we conclude from all this? To me, the architecture of Machu Picchu seems to tell a similar story to that of many other of the ancient ruins in the Peruvian Andes. I think it's certainly possible, if not even likely, that parts of this site are vastly older than the Inca civilization, a civilization whom undoubtedly lived here and worked on the site and left indications of their presence via the remains of ceramics and ritual burial. This interpretation seems consistent with what the Inca themselves said about their own origins, with talk of a megalithic civilization existing thousands of years ago, one that was mostly destroyed and whose descendants, many centuries later, eventually arose and spread to become the Inca. It's consistent with much of the new data coming from adjacent scientific fields like paleoclimatology, geology, and genetics. I think that given all of the supporting evidence, circumstantial though much of it may be, this interpretation of the origins of Machu Picchu is worthy of much more mainstream discussion. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that look into the origins of
Yeah,
Machu Picchu.
that was cool.
If you did, please remember to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already.
That
it definitely
was
helps me.
cool. All right. I think that's probably good for tonight, Jennifer. We can do a part 2 next week and do American monolithic sites.
Yeah, because I
sound good?
found this same molded stone has been found in Montana.
Yeah, you sent me a video about that. We should definitely watch that next week and watch a couple other ones too, maybe.
Yep. Well, we didn't do Stonehenge, so
No.
we got that still. And then there's it's my favorite, Göbekli Tepe. We got to do that. So we can, and I think the Montana one is only like 10 minutes long.
Yeah, we can just watch the rest next week. So what do we have here? I'll show people what we have. Hang on. Let me get out of that. So the other 3 videos are Stonehendge, which actually I'm really excited about this. These 15 theories will change how you see Stonehenge forever.
It goes through every single theory. It's one of those AI generated videos that we love, and it goes through every single theory of Stonehenge. It's really good.
Cool. And then we've got this one, which I don't know how to pronounce that.
Pumapunku.
Puma. Okay. You can be in charge of pronouncing that one. Okay. And then we've got this.
There's Graham Hancock. Let's go Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah. And then we've got one on Montana.
It's Montana, and then I wanted to, because I know a couple of these are only like a few minutes long.
Yeah.
But I may find one on the Serpent Mound if I can find a shorter one.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. I want to see that.
Yeah. So we can move from the sites from like the Middle East and South America. So we did South America. And did we do any?
Jennifer's frozen. Oh, she's back. Thank God. You're back. We heard you though.
Okay. Yeah. So we did South America, and then we move to the Middle East because I think that's Göbekli Tepe's in Turkey. And then Pumapunku though is also in Peru, and then we'll do England. We'll do Stonehenge, and then we can move to the Americas. But this shit is everywhere. There was a global society doing this kind of stonework everywhere.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Cool. Well, we'll look forward to that next week. Do you have any other announcements or anything else you want to share before we wrap up for the night?
I do. I just got to set my sewing aside. I'm sewing up the armpits of some tank tops because I'm short, but I get tank tops that I like that are pretty, and then the arms are go all the way down, and I don't want to be flashing people my side boob. So let me see what we got. I think we're going to be doing Little Nicky for movie night.
Oh yeah, that's right,
Aussie Fest. We're gonna do a little mini Aussie Fest.
Oz Fest.
We'll do all the music and stuff, and of course trivia, and just show what a good sport he was. Plus, I think it's a hilarious movie. There are people who are like meh on Little Nicky, but I think it's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. I think it's hilarious. And then let's see, then we're gonna start back to school August. So I've got movies like 16 Candles, Revenge of the Nerds, Animal House.
Can we actually watch Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield?
Oh,
can we please?
I have not seen that movie ever. Actually,
no, we have to. That's gonna be the first one, Jennifer. That we have to. This fucking movie. This movie would never be made today. It's such a good movie. I've seen it. So I don't even really like Rodney Dangerfield, but I've seen this movie so many times.
Okay, hang on. Do you know what's funny is I think I had that on the list. I think I had it. I think you've said this before, and I was like, no, and I deleted it out.
Oh man, it's so classic, and you get to see what life was like before everyone got politically correct and retarded. Is what you get to see what it was like when people
Animal House and Animal House and Revenge of the Nerds is like that as well. So
well, that's true, but Back to School it goes in so well with the other movies. We have to watch it, especially since you've never seen it. It'll be like a Jennifer surprise.
Just what we need. Yay. Yeah. All right. Oh wait, hold on. I better make that.
It's just so good. Oh my God, there's so much good stuff about Sam Tennyson in that movie. Is so fucking funny.
Okay. Well, let's see. I have a look at August. We've got the 3rd, 10th, 17th, and we have 5 Sundays in August, so we might be able to fit all this in.
Sweet.
Yes, indeed. Awesome. All right, cool. And then Mr. Mac for Max B Movie Night on Monday is gonna do Freebie and the Bean.
I don't know what that is.
It sounds like a porno.
It does sound like a porno. I don't know about that movie.
I've never heard of it before. So
Cool. Yeah, we got Adam Green on the channel tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Nice.
The Viking returns, so that'll be fun for me. It may not be fun for him, but it'll be fun for me.
You know, I have to say I'm a little disappointed that that Big Tech didn't say anything about my assessment of him and his demonic possession.
I don't know. I mean, I don't even remember exactly what he said, to be honest with you. I don't think he said a whole lot about it. I don't think he expressed much of an opinion, but
he just wanted to personally go after both of us. Okay, well that's just his character.
He just wanted to, he just wanted to be a little nit on the internet, and that's kind of what he does, and that's fine. I just don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't care.
Yep.
Like I'm like you are returning to Christianity just because you don't want to be in a Twitter space that I'm listening to. I'm not even in the Twitter space. I'm just listening to the Twitter space, and that is a step that has driven you back to Christianity, sir. Okay, can we get a grip, please, Pisces?
That's so beta.
Like, can you get your fucking feelings in order, please? Like, I can't even. I can't, Jennifer.
We will close that chapter until we find the thing that unites you.
Whatever. Yeah, he's frozen now. I have not released the spell yet. He is still frozen in my freezer. And so I'm just going to declare that the spell worked. He could have been much more harmful and destructive through that whole thing. And, maybe he still potentially could be. I don't know. But like he remains frozen in my freezer. I will release him someday when I feel like it has gotten to that place, but not yet. And he can pretend he won all he wants. I don't care. Yes, honey, you won. Yes, darling. Yes. You did.
You did it. You did it. You. Sorry, I'm moving my sewing light here.
Well done.
Mm-hmm. Get
whatever.
The big bitches on. You're welcome. So
congratulations. Yeah. Oy vey. All right.
I'm not Jewish. It's Jersey. You can't. I'm a native Coloradoan, but I like my mother's whole side is from Jersey.
Don't get a complex that he called you Jewish. Don't get a complex that people call me Jewish all the time. It's okay. It doesn't make you Jewish, Jennifer. You're still Italian. I promise you.
East Coast, baby.
Yeah. All right, guys.
All right, loves.
Well, that's all we have for tonight. I will see you guys tomorrow at 5 p.m. with the Viking. Take care.